Welcome to the Cadwell Park Clubhouse, where we are building up to our Louth and District Friends of Cadwell Park charity night in aid of Links and Knots Air Ambulance. It's back to the 1980s on two wheels. We'll bring you a mixture of live interviews and entertainment from our hosts and their star guests, as well as a look at some video footage that we shot at Cadwell Park in 2017. This will be live, so we apologise in advance for any moments of raw emotion. Anyone who knew any of tonight's guests back in the 80s will perhaps have an idea of what we could possibly mean by that. Actually, most of them aren't much better these days. Tonight's event has been very popular, selling out in a matter of days, helped no doubt by the success of the last charity night, which took us back to the 1970s. So for anyone who didn't manage to get a ticket, we hope going live to parts of the event this evening will make up for not being here in person. So to tonight's hosts, well, the first of our presenters needs no introduction. Pete Boast has been racing just about every type of two-wheeled machine for just about as long as anyone can remember. Those closest would no doubt describe Boast's 80s antics as prolific, but tonight we'll stick to the on-track entertainment, and there was plenty of that too. A former British and European flat track champion, Boasty recently teamed up with Guy Martin for an assault on the Spa 4-hour race with Team Classic Suzuki. He's the driving force behind tonight's charity event, and it's fitting that he should lead proceedings. Another man who needs no introduction is Steve Plater, counting the 2009 British Supersport Championship and a victory at the prestigious Isle of Man Senior TT, as well as the Northwest 200 as credits to his name. Plater famously stood in for Josh Brooks on the HM Plant Honda Superbike in 2009. However, tonight we'll be calling on his other talent as he shares microphone duties with Boasty. On to our star guests then, and we start with Rob McElnea, winner of the Senior Manx Grand Prix in 1980 with TT wins in 83 and 84. McElnea won a round of the TT Formula One World Championship in 1983, ending the season second to Joey Dunlop. Rob spent 6 seasons riding 500cc Grand Prix bikes for Heron Suzuki, Marlboro Yamaha and Cabin Honda. He then won the British 750cc Formula One title in 1991. Second of our star guests is Mark Phillips, the captain, and arguably one of Britain's top racers of the late 80s. The captain won the British TT Formula One Championship in 1986, famously putting the cat among the pigeons by taking the title on a 500cc two-stroke bike amid rule changes aimed at giving four-strokes a chance to win outside of GP racing. Phillips also had an affiliation with our Cadwell Park Bike School, winning the King of Cadwell Trophy in 1987, undoubtedly the highlight of any racer's career. And we're also joined tonight by Paul Tinker, who rode for local team Fish and Cheek, winning the Yellow Belly Trophy in 1982. A top-flight 250 and 350 racer throughout the 80s, Tinker counts names like Niall Mackenzie, Alan Carter and Donnie McLeod among his rivals on track. In fact, he finished second to the latter in the British 250cc Championship in 1983. With many other names and faces from the world of two-wheeled racing in the room tonight, expect Boasty to go off script at any moment and add more names into the mix. That's all live from the Cadwell Park Clubhouse. Thank you for joining us here on Facebook.
My claim to fame is I raced for the Bentley team, TT with Guy Smith and Steve Cadwell.
Tonight's event, hosted by Louth and District Friends of Cadwell Park, has been organised in aid of the Links and Knots Air Ambulance. The ambucopter team, based out of RAF Waddington near Lincoln, recently announced plans to run a 24-hour service. And along with a new helicopter, the team is providing critical care across our region. The Air Ambulance is a charity close to many a biker's heart, and all funds raised by ticket sales, raffle and auction tonight will go direct to the Trust. Thank you to everyone who has helped make this evening possible. There are lots of ways you can help support the Air Ambulance. Visit ambucopter.org.uk. If you're watching from home, why not get involved on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram? We love seeing our story unfold through your eyes. So tag us in your photos, tell us your stories, and who knows, you could find yourself featured on our YouTube page as part of our Cadwell People series.
retrospectives. Hello. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you want to settle down? Can you hear me at the back? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everybody. How are we all? Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to our Cadwell Park 80s night, our charity night. Firstly, what a big room full of people here. I just want to say a big thank you for all of you coming in here and contributing already to our charity tonight, which incidentally, if you didn't know, it is a Nottingham and Lincolnshire Air Ambulance. So you're just amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. Give yourself a round of applause, really. Thank you for that. If there's any tight asses that haven't paid, don't worry, we'll catch up with you later, all right? We will be doing a raffle, which I believe Joe's flying around now trying to squeeze a bit more money out of you on that. And also, at the very end of the evening, we've got some fantastic posters, and Rob's brought a bit of stuff in from the old days. New clothing, but old clothing, yeah, all right.
Not from the 80s.
Not from the 80s, but it's nice stuff. So we've got some nice items for an auction at the end. So, firstly, just a quick talk about the air ambulance. Obviously, the people at the very far end are there. Welcome to them. The air ambulance here at Cadwell Park does get used a bit during the season, and I would like to say thank you to Paul, our manager here, who's let us have this room for the night, because obviously we appreciate it here at Cadwell Park. We do use it, but you might need it yourselves at some point, and I certainly know people that have had to use it, so it's a very important charity. So it's a great pleasure to do that. Our guest, everybody here is here free of charge. We've got a fantastic array of bikes being brought in as well. You know, everybody's done that just for the charity. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And you know, so good. So let's move on and talk a little bit more about the 80s. Lucky enough, I have got a pro presenter with me. You've seen him on TV, and obviously he's a TT winner. Steve, was you about in the 80s?
I was just going to say, you know, it's great to be here and obviously look at all the old faces around, not just the riders, but looking around the room. Of course, the 80s is before my time. You know, I've been doing my homework, so I'm hoping to help out in a big way, Pete.
We've already had a discussion on your age already.
Yeah, many do.
And there's a racing age and a real age, I think, isn't there? But anyway, so no, it's good, Steve. I hope you can help me out, because I'm new at this job. So thank you for that. So Phil, here we have a big line of stars here. I can certainly say we've got British Championship riders on here. We've got lap record holders. We've got works riders. We've got TT winners, GP racers, and they all started racing at Cadwell Park. Is that correct, boys? Isn't it? Yeah. So it's a pleasure here. We have at the far end there is Mr. Mark Captain Phillips. Give a round of applause to the captain. Good. Keep checking your mics are working. Thank you. In the middle, this guy's a bit shy. He's not used to doing this. He's had to twist his arm a little bit to get him here. But he's got a lot to tell us. I know he has. So in the middle there is Paul Tinker. And sitting right next to me is a brilliant trials rider, I can say that. But you'll know him, everybody, from the 80s for sure, and obviously maybe later on looking after a lot of British Superbike teams. Rob McElnea. Right, boys, let's start casting our memories back a little bit. This is a question to all three of you, if you'd like to answer it for me, please. What are your first memories of Cadwell Park? Start with you, Cap.
Right, my first memories of Cadwell Park was coming here. I was so young, I don't quite remember actually turning up at the main, but I just remember getting my dad picking me up at the bottom of the mountain, his Manx Norton, sitting me on the tank and riding me up to the Thames van. And after vibrations, you never forgot riding a Manx Norton tank. Well, that's my first memories, but me sort of memories when I really wanted just to start racing, just seeing Barry, and sorry to Rob, but to seeing Barry Sheen here coming up the mountain, that was my dream.
That was your dream, Captain. I think you achieved that as well. Tink?
Yeah, I came and I was watching a lad from the same village as me who was riding, and he was sort of racing, he was doing all right, but I just used to like come for a ride uphill on the roads, you know, more than anything, but it was good to watch everybody racing, and after seeing one or two I thought, give it a go.
Good lad. Rob?
Well, a bit different for me, I think. My dad raced, and he spent a lot of time at Cadwell Park, and as a kid I used to come out, one of those annoying kids with his little mini bike razzing around the paddock. But one of the first memories was sleeping in the horse box in the paddock. My mum used to have the horse box for horsing weekends, and my dad had the horse box for the racing weekends. I mean, a towing horse box.
Yeah.
So he'd have his air Mackie at the time. He had his air Mackie on one side, and I'd have my little Honda 50 on the other side. And for the big adventure, we'd sleep in the horse box. They'd go back home, and me and my mate would sleep in the horse box here in the paddock. And that weekend, it was a complete howler. When my dad got in the morning, the horse box had moved about 30-40 yards down the paddock from where he left it. So that was my first memory, but obviously got a lot more to tell.
Yeah, I believe you marshalled as a very young lad as well. I've seen a picture.
I've seen that picture, yeah. Well, yeah, we used to come with my dad, and it was great fun. We used to sign on at the signing on place at the bottom of the mountain here, and used to get you 50 pence and your fruit pie when you're coming at lunchtime. And yeah, it was a great day. You know, really getting close to it. And I remember getting in the tranny. He used to come around in the tranny van and pick you up after the races, and then try and get up the mountain in this old 1972 tranny van. We all ended up having to push it up the hill. So. I think Charlie was paying the fuel for it. That was probably.
Yeah. Okay, and now your first ever meeting, I said, because started at Cadwell. Captain, can you remember your first ever meeting, and where did you finish?
I think, Pete, it was your first meeting as well, wasn't it? Lincoln Club 1979?
No, I'm a lot younger than you, Les.
Yeah, it was March. I'd be just 16. So
I don't need the exact date, Les. I was just wondering if you can remember it.
Lincoln Club meeting, March 1979. First club meeting of the year. Dave and John Saddle and everything.
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, that's not unusual. Where did you finish, Les?
Midfield to the back.
And what was your riding?
I was riding an ex-John Whedon TZ 250D.
Right.
First race bike?
Yeah.
Oh, that was quite. And obviously, how old was you
I bought
there?
the bike from the Ali Pally show in the winter. It was when they had like a paddock there, and my dad and myself went round the show. We thought it looked a good bike, so we bought the bike, and it was a good bike.
Yeah. That must have been quite difficult to. I mean, Steve, imagine riding a TZ first race. It's not going to be easy.
Well, the good thing about them, they're not as fast as they are nowadays.
No, well, I mean, I was completely different because I started on road bikes and then raced sort of production road bikes. But, you know, back then, obviously, to ride something like especially the TZ, what you were on was a real race bike, and of course against somebody with a little bit older and some tough opposition back then.
Yeah, I mean, everyone says about the sort of the way two-stroke. I mean, Rob's rode a lot of two-stroke very well, and the thing is though, they're just not nowhere near as scary as what the stuff is now, because it doesn't have a great horsepower, and even though it came in a bit like a Switzer power, but you were talking nothing like the hundreds of brake horsepower you got nowadays. So the main thing was the setup really. I mean, the bikes were hard to ride, but if they were set up good, they could be a lot easier. It was, nowadays you just jump on things, they're all good, aren't they? Where with then, you could have Andy Mateson's bike be twice as good as anyone else's.
Ting, you believe started on RD 400, is that correct?
RD 400, yeah. Ex-Hillary Musson. I bought it off it.
So it's a girl's bike you started on?
Girl's bike, yeah. So it was a really good bike actually. It'd been well tuned, and I can't remember why she got rid of it. I think she got another one or something. But yeah, it was fantastic. That was June '79.
It's funny how everybody can remember that first one, can't they?
Yeah. I did I remember coming down for a practice day, and it was great because local area Roger Marshall was there, and he was sort of watching and good stuff. I went straight on a Mansfield about 3 times and wore my boots out in 10 laps. It was one of them, a bit hectic, but it was good fun.
And where did you finish in your first meeting? Can you remember?
Yeah, I won 3 races, but it was
wow.
one of the competitive sort of a meeting really. It was a club meeting, but not.
Don't bring it down. Don't bring it down, Ting.
Yeah, it was good. Give me a buzz.
And Rob?
Well,
I think you was on. Did you start on a 4-stroke?
404.
Yeah.
404. Yeah, it was a real big class, the 500 4-stroke class. I can't remember, was it 352 to 500 or something? And I can remember for a good year before getting nervous about coming to start racing. I used to go with my dad at the weekends and thinking this is going to be me next year. I'm going to be on. I'd turn 16, get a license, and my God, it was. I can remember, still gives me sort of goosebumps thinking about losing sleep at a 15-year-old, thinking about starting racing. When we come to the races, I go down there with my dad, I'm on the grid, and then next year it's going to be me. So, 77, I turned up with a 404, pretty standard bike. I got a Yoshimura cam in it, and then as far as pretty much standard apart from that, but fantastic bike to ride. Could ride it really hard, but there was in those club races. I mean, like Mark says, the competition was so strong, and the club races were fantastic. The 350 races were amazing, but there was Peter Hubbard and Phil Odlin and these guys with these 504s, like really trick bikes. And the racing was brilliant, but I can't quite remember where I finished in the first race.
Loop shoots, on the loop shoot on the. John's got the loop shoot on the.
Oh really? Yeah.
Yeah.
The class was fantastic, and the club meetings was amazing. I mean, I remember queuing at the top here to go down to the dummy grid at the top of Mansfield. So you'd be here shitting yourself, waiting, looking to see who gets down the hairpin, and the race would stop. And you go down the hill and then park at the top of the hill and shit yourself again. You have to watch another race. Then you've got to be lucky and pick the right close peg out of the bag for your group position, and then roll down to the grid and shit yourself again. And then see if you get around the hairpin the first lap. So.
Yeah, I mean that's something that doesn't really happen now. I mean, in our day in the 80s, I mean Cadwell club track was like used every weekend, Saturday, Sunday. It was amazing, wasn't it?
Well, and the clubs, there's so many clubs who would use Cadwell, and if you didn't, you couldn't get entries. It was just packed all. You have to be well ahead to get an entry, and the racing was amazing. And so many really good, strong riders. The 350 class was the creme de la creme, and the guys who come through that. And again, learning your trade at Cadwell Park. There's so many guys have learned the trade at Cadwell and gone on. Once you master Cadwell, or you get disciplined around a track like this, you can take it wherever you go around the world, trust me.
I'd like to say, like Rob was saying, the club racing is such a high standard. I mean, especially like Rob said, 350 class, if you say at the main club meets like the Racing 50 and things like that, the bigger clubs, if you could win your races on a 350 in a club race, you'd go to a national and you would expect to be in the top 6. the Cadwell riders. Well, you know, this was the circuit where the good club rider could compete at a national, international, because it's such a demanding circuit, and if you knew where he was going and got a decent bike, you could do it from club racing and not be at the back,
Well, that's right. And I just want to ask you, I remember you, Captain, having some right dices with Alan Carter, and we just spoke about that, I think, and quite an hard rider to ride with, wasn't he, Captain?
Yeah, I mean, but it's like there was Paul came in. I remember watching Paul on his RD 400 and think, well, I don't really want him in my race. Then he got the Fish and Chip 350, and he was from the front. There was Alan in that sort of time. It was Alan, Paul, myself, and it was some good races. But the good thing about it as well, the TZ 350. It wasn't a lot different to what they had in the Grand Prix bike. It was just... And also, I've been on the TZ350 when the conditions maybe haven't been quite as good. In the big race, I finished 3rd and 4th, between the Hondas and Yamahas, things like that. So, like, Rob was really fast in his 350. I remember Alan Carr one day, Rob obviously was going a bit quicker than Alan and myself. And Alan come off at Barn Corner, and he was following Rob. He said the only reason Rob didn't come off because he's heavier and the bike stuck more.
It wasn't quite as diplomatic as that. He's like, he's got a fat ass, and I remember it well, man.
He said, he went for the same bit of oil as me. I was straight down. He said, his weight just kept him on.
It was hard work. I mean, Alan Carter was about 8 stone wet through, and I was a bit heavier, and it was always a tough battle.
You were heavier. We could pass you down the straight.
Well, I draft like a truck apparently.
Yeah, just going back to the club track there, just basically, obviously, all three of you rode blinking hard on that track, and I've witnessed it myself, and just want to know, really, Captain, what was on the club track, what was your best ever lap round there in your club days? Can you remember?
I had the 250 lap record at 17.3 or 4, something like that, and but it was
So much like that.
Who was the Tom Jury? But
Tom.
All the time.
What about Pete Wild?
Yeah,
Pete Wild won every
all the
single
time.
race.
It was like Alan Carter, Paul, myself. We always thought we was going to get that record there, but that Tom Jury lap on I think an E was so fast.
Was it a Richard Pearce Jones as well? Was he? He was fast.
It was 1 point. It was 7 point something. And we were a couple of tenths off it a few times, but it was fast anyway.
Did you have a lap record around there, Ting?
No, I won't pass you.
No, I know you're lying.
No, I did quite a lot of Cadwell, but rather than state Cadwell, I started doing a lot more nationals and learning the other circuits and sort of learning my trade that way, if you like. Against doing nationals and fighting with some really good riders, and it paid off in the end.
Robert, you got an exact time round there?
I think about 7.1 I did that. No, I remember my first race on a 350. I can't remember, it was a twin shock. It was a Maxton 350, and I'd gone from a 404. I remember telling my mum I'm going to buy this 350 TZ. This is when everybody was like getting fired off and the season and people getting hurt. You're going to kill yourself, Robert. Don't be bringing that home. Anyway, I got the 350 and came to Cadwell for the first time. Saturday, Sunday event. Crashed on the very first race, flat out at the end of the park corner. My mum gave me a right clip around the ear hole. Said, "I told you, you're going to really hurt yourself on that." Anyway, went home, repaired it, came back the next day with number plates made out of plastic boxes, just literally bodged it all together, and I won like 5 races the next day. It was a club meeting, but I thought it was a good job myself. But I loved that. That class was just, you learned just racing that class all year. You know, Cadwell. I say once you master Cadwell and have the discipline, this track, if you don't have discipline and patience, you just cannot ride it. And with learning that around a track like this and taking it as you go around everywhere else, honestly, it was worth its weight in gold. But the races, the 350 races, that, you know, in those couple of years I've done 350, it was just immense. You know, as you went around the country, Alton Park, similar sort of track to Cadwell, you know, the races were fantastic.
So you were talking about 350s, incidentally, Rob, you've not seen that bike?
No, totally. Yeah. Dave Swift's bike, and it's fantastic.
Dave's brought it along tonight. It's first time it's really been on show. So is that like your last 350? Because
yeah, I rode that in the national championships in England. Raced Alan Carter with that. Did the TT? Do we do the TT on that? Do we do it?
Did you, Max?
Yeah, I did that with a 750, and when I rode that, when I was riding 1982, I had a Volkswagen LT bound with a 350 on one wheel arch, a 500 RG on the other, 750 in the middle. I used to do the pro-am race as well. So, you know, saying guys can't jump around. I was lucky to have a great sponsor at the time, but yeah, it's a great memory seeing it built like that again. What a fantastic job it was.
It's absolutely ace, isn't it?
Rob, Andy Mason said last time I saw that bike it was on fire.
I know. That's why I was cringing when I saw it.
I remember seeing the smoke of Swanson's Curve, was it?
You've got a good memory, haven't you?
And it was absolutely burnt out.
Well, it was the first lap of it. It was a big international, wasn't it? And I was away second, and I went through Swanson's Curve, and some guy in front of me, he was like a GP rider, he missed a gear, and I just flipping rammed him, and he just went off like that. I burst into a ball of flames, I singed all my mullet. I lost my mullet that day. But yeah, the bike, Don had built the bike, and it literally we qualified pretty well, and we set off in second position, and didn't even get a lap, and the bike just burnt out. It just exploded, full tank of avgas. Just as soon as it hit the floor, it exploded. So I wasn't very popular when I got back.
Don, you're over there, and I used to see your van going to Don's nearly every night. I know the amount of work you must have put in, and Don certainly must have done as well.
Well, yeah, there's no way. I mean, there's quite a few people here tonight, and Cadwell and Don and Dave. Dave did a lot with my bikes. We worked together. But without those, we'd never have got the step up. And to be fair, we got to sort of 1981, and my sponsor, Frank Garland, who was a really good friend of the family, he bought me a 750, and I really struggled with it all year. I sort of beat myself up, and I was crashing out of 15th place, and it's like, Jesus. And I said to him at the end of 81, I think you're wasting your money, I think we should maybe just call it a day. He says, come on, I said, one more year. And with that, I thought, well, if he's really wants to do it that much, and he wants to get behind me, I'm going to really try. And I trained my balls off all winter, came back, lost a couple of stone, and really got into it. And I turned up at Cadwell the first race, and I finished third behind Sheen and Roger. And he was like, away we go. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what I did different. I obviously got a lot fitter, but just something just clicked. I spent all the year before, don't even know why I was crashing, and, you know, just really hurting yourself. It's like that, isn't it?
And early on, you know, you mentioned obviously your dad and starting up when watching your dad and buzzing around the paddock here. You know, was you under pressure from the old man, or was it purely just for fun and just chilled out?
Well, it's funny because when I first started doing quite well, because I raced, well, my first couple of years, I raced with my dad. My dad would be he had an 850 Honda at the time, and we'd be in the open race together, and I would be able to bump start my Honda and whole shot. And then my dad had come alongside me for a couple of laps and passed me, and we had really got quite a lot of fun doing that. But then when I went to the Yam, and I started winning, he didn't want to come. He retired. He had to retire, and I started doing really well, and he didn't want to come anymore. It was weird. It was really weird. It's not like that at all. But just because he couldn't do it anymore, and I was doing really well, he just didn't want to come along. So I lasted a few years, but then. So no pressure at all from them. But just I don't know, I just didn't click. And then the next year it did click. And there's so much about confidence in sport. You know, get to a certain level. There's so many guys who's at a good level. I mean, when I was doing 350s, a little bit before Mark and these guys, but there's so many guys who should have got through. Peter Wilde, Richard Pearce-Jones, you know, there's under 350 class, there's so much talent. But it's just a lucky break. I got a lucky sponsor and sort of got a break. But I say he stuck with me, and I came back the year after, got that result at Cadwell, first big international of the year, got on the podium. It was like, whoa, how did that happen? And then I was sort of knocking into them all year then.
Well, I just want to come to sort of like move on a little bit further from the club days here at Cadwell. Let's get back to Cadwell a little bit. There were some pretty big meetings here at Cadwell, and I know all three of you boys jumped up to. There was just one big meeting. There was most probably 2 internationals, nationals. There was a lot of meetings, and one meeting I want to talk about was the Bill Ivey Trophy, and I think all three of you raced in that. And I wondered if you can just bring us. Can you have some memories on that, Captain? I think you had a good few meetings on that race.
Yeah, it's the time on. It was obviously open CC race, but 350 was good for the Bill Ivey circuit. If you could.
Yeah, sorry folks, if you've not, Captain, if you not know what the Bill Ivey circuit is, just explain to them which one it is.
This is half the hairpin up the mountain to this half.
Yeah, nice tight one.
Yeah. But that's the club hairpin. The hairpin it was a relief. It wasn't the.
It was the further at the second one, wasn't it? Yeah. Instead the club hairpin, yeah.
But and Alan, it was Kevin Mitchell and myself, and we did the whole race. We were just side by side, and it was the classic as a dead heat. But then finally, just because Kev put his hand up, I gave it to him. I didn't put my hand up. No.
Yeah, you got to look like you're winning, Captain.
But yeah, that's right. But it was a hell of a race. I remember, I think my dad sort of thought it's one of my most exciting races. He wasn't the biggest one ever did, but one of the most exciting because it was just every lap we're side by side over the line, and luckily we broke a bit, so it was just us two. No one's interfering, so it was good. It was a good race.
Ting, can you remember the Bill Ivey?
Yeah, I used to love it because it's just wheelie after wheelie after wheelie, isn't it? And the 350 was fantastic back around there for that, and we had some good races. I mean, first Bill Ivey, first time I rode an RG 500 was at Bill Ivey.
My God!
And that was a bit of a lump, and I got third on it. But no, the 250 was I used to really like the 250s. I think I had a 250 win here on the Bill Ivey. I can't remember now, but I know I knocked Mark off once.
Is that right?
Yeah, somebody ran in the back of me going into the bottom hairpin, and I clouted Mark and knocked him up, and he was playing up with me, and it wasn't my fault.
Is that right, Captain?
That old gag.
I just remember seeing him in the side of me, knock him off. I didn't know who would run up the back of him, but I just knew he ran into me.
It wasn't the first time.
And Rob, obviously, I can remember you riding your big 750 around here and then going straight on it.
I was going to say, the only memory of the Bill Ivey, because I thought it was a complete nuts race, when I was riding a 750 at the time, to try and ride a 750 around that bit was mental. And I can't remember the guy who was winning it, but he's of repute. He was a guy,
I think Aslan won it quite a few times, didn't he?
They weren't wrong, no, well, it's one of those guys, and I was second or third. And that braking, you come out of the barn corner on a 750 and try and stop at that second hairpin. And I remember just slamming the brakes on, and the back wheel came up, and I let the brakes off, and he was just turning in. I really can't remember his name, but he was just turning in. So I just gassed it like that, and I went woof up the hill. And this guy gave me such a bollocking when he got back in the pits. I mean, obviously for him it was a big scare, but I knew that I was going to miss him. But it must have been well. He saw it, did he?
Yeah, I remember that. You went up Coppice like it was a full track.
It must have looked like that. But I braked too late and I couldn't stop. So if I kept trying to brake, I would have definitely hit him. So I just flipping nailed it and shot up the hill. It was Barry Ditchburn, I think it was.
Right, it must have been one of his last rides.
Maybe that. I don't know. But he nearly gave me a flipping clout on the ear roll. A bit later. I deserved it, I guess.
He's feeling a bit brave. Yeah, guys, and then obviously a lot of us raced on the full track, and again the internationals. Mark, what was your in the 80s? Can you remember your best result at the big meetings?
Of course you can.
I don't just, you know, when I
You couldn't beat the Michael fast enough.
when I started riding for Paget's really on the RG500 and winning on that here, and just, you know, from watching people like Barry Sheen come up the mountain and being, you know, doing like possibly coming over the mountain doing a wheelie and Halls bends and that. I mean, just your dreams what you want. I love the mountain to Halls Bend section on the full start of a big meeting. Funny. And I say on the RG500, it was a lovely bike to ride around here.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it? Ting?
I think I can't remember whether I did any good on 350. I think I won a 250 major meetings, but I had a good race with Rob once on a 350, and I was leading him all the way to the last lap into the hairpin. And I was that conscious he was behind me. I made a complete mess of it, ran wide, and he nipped Bill on the inside and beat me, didn't he?
Is that right, Rob?
Can't remember. I think I gave him a shove, actually.
That was long.
But those Cadwell Internationals, the 350 races, was something else, weren't they?
Yeah, well, it was like that. There were so many riders with heats.
Yeah.
You know, and
But the 350 was nearly the main event, wasn't it?
Yeah, because
with that, but how many races in a day? What would you get? Was it like a heat system into a semi and a final? And
Yeah. Most people had 2 or 3 bikes. You know, I had that year I had 350, 500, 750. So I was never off the track really. It was brilliant. Loved it.
Right, like 250, 350. Then you had a pro-am race. Yeah, you had a lot of riding.
Yeah, so Rob, your best result in them 80s, eh?
The 80s.
You're sure you've got plenty?
You've
still got the scars, look.
Oh yeah. That's Charles biking. I can't remember much of the 750 days, although that, you know, you're doing the whole championship. So Cadwell was a big round. But you used to be battling with, well, Ronnie was before me, but when I broke through on the 750, it was Roger Marshall and Wayne on the 4-strokes. Yeah. So I was regularly taking a bit of paint off Roger most weekends and being a bit of a thorn in the side on this. It was his fat kid on this 750, crashing every weekend. If I stayed on, I did a bit of damage, but then I was probably the top privateer I was a privateer on a fairly stock 750 against Roger on the Patch Suzuki and Wayne stuff like that. So I was a sort of nearly man all the time, and Cadwell again. You come here think you're going to do pretty well, but then, you know, you get Gardner, who's grown up a little bit here, and Roger and a few guys who were pretty handy as well. But they were big races, they were really big races, big events, and there's a real buzz coming back to race here.
And obviously, we was talking about this earlier about the change from the 80s. We was all racing bikes, but by sort of 87, 80, I know you was on to Grand Prix, Rob, but we're certainly riding production-based, you know, like your OW01 and stuff like that, wasn't we? It was a big change in the 80s there.
Yeah, I think, it's the way it went. I guess a lot of, you see the Grand Prix guys coming from 125, 250, 500 or whatever. You know, the learning curve, what you learn on a 125, you can't really get from a 600. You know, so a lot of that sort of, original sort of skill factor of learning to set your bike up, high corner speed and discipline goes out the window a little bit with a 600 and treaded tyres and, you know, fairly standard setup. I mean, it's a bit of an axe murderer's class, isn't it, the 600?
Yeah. So, okay, just going back a little bit, we've talked about like your best results, your best memories. I've got to mention, we've all been here, we've been around Cadwell Park many times, and one thing we've all done, and I know we have, is crashed around Cadwell Park many times. Captain, in the 80s, what was your worst crash? And have you got any stories to talk about? I know we had a few in the 90s.
Well, I mean, even though, you know, Cadwell, that's some strange reason, Brands Hatch was my favourite circuit in Cadwell, but even though I always thought Cadwell was a safe circuit, it I never found it as scary. You know, I used to hate Snetterton. Every time I go to Snetterton from the bum up, I thought, oh, just not liking this. But I always thought Cadwell, even though it's a hard circuit, I always felt quite safe in it. So nothing, it wasn't really worried me about crashing too much.
You didn't worry about crashing too.
I didn't want to crash, but I felt, and that laps we've all done, and we've run a few times, aren't we?
Yeah, of course we are, and I think that when we was doing the club races,
I think most of the crashes were in my club racing career more than further on in your career. I think maybe all of us crashed more when it was club racing if we was at the front than we did when you was further on in your career.
You've done a few miles around Cadwell. Are there any corners you haven't crashed on?
No.
Rob?
There is not a circuit, there's not a corner I haven't come
Every
off.
corner.
Same?
Yeah, same. I mean, part of the club racing, you're just growing up there.
I'm not abnormal then.
Everyone.
That's a lot of damage, isn't it? The amount of races we did, the amount of miles we did, you're going to pretty much test every part of the time out, wouldn't you?
He was racing every weekend, sort of club meetings. There's so many, and it was fantastic. And it was so competitive because everyone was trying so hard. It was great.
Yeah. The club races, you're doing 6 races a day, weren't you? Yeah. With practice and qualifying as well. Yeah. So you're going to hit the floor a few times.
And the hairpin, that was, I mean, nowadays they have a warm-up lap and so on and so on. I mean, in the 80s you went, I mean, you sat, like you said, Rob, you started off, you went to the top, you waited to try and hope you got a good grid and you went on cold tyres and went into the hairpin, give it a handful of throttle and...
Well, just get into the hairpin safe before you get entangled on the way there, and then stopping and turning right angles, waiting for the whole pack to come behind you and hopefully they're going to stop. It's pretty scary. If you get around the first lap, you can sort of take your breath unless someone takes you out. Sometimes you just get through the hairpin and think, oh, I've made that, and you get the pack on and some twat takes you out. that happened quite often. But it was a sort of track where it was intense, and every area there was a place to have a go at somebody. So, the hairpin was the likely one where you set it up, but so was Park Corner, in the middle of Charlie's. There's loads of places, opportunistic areas to have a go, so you were getting tangled up quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it just, the hairpin was, I think you had to defend more than go for the best line, I think, Rob, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that was the main vantage point, because all the crowd was there waiting for the blood. Or the fairings thing, they're all baying for it, I think. But it was just part of growing up at Cadwell, and again, that is a lesson what you learn to how to race, it's racing tactics, if you got a good start, you have to park it in the middle and just wobble around first lap, and then if you got going, you could ride it as a normal corner, but it was 2 levels as well. It was always 2 levels, I don't know what it's like now, but it used to go from the start and turn right and drop down to the next level and try and pick it up again. So, it was quite difficult. Luckily I was a decent trials rider, so I could sort of make it up, but it's a lot of technical things to work out.
Yeah, it's a lot of challenge. Steve, I reckon we're at this point. I mean, a lot of people, I bet, have got a few questions to ask these boys. Do we want to open the floor talking about Cadwell Park in particular? That's what we're looking at, Cadwell in the 80s. So, Steve, do you want to get out there?
Who's got a question? He'll do.
He'll do. Spence.
There was a picture in Motorcycle News around 1981 with Mark Phillips at a club meeting, high-siding at the hairpin, and your head was bent backwards. It was horrendous.
That was a Bill Ivy meeting, and it was on TZ 350s. Wayne Mills, unfortunately Wayne lost his life, but Wayne rode for Webbs, and he come round the hairpin in front of me, and I got the power on and high side myself, but I just was, the picture the Motorcycle News got was both hands on the handlebar. I was just doing a handstand right in front of me, but I did come off.
Anybody else?
Any more questions? Come on, somebody must want to ask something.
There's a lot of people in here, surely.
Doesn't matter how personal it is. Or you can,
behind you, Steve, they haven't gone up
you
behind
can say
you.
it then till the end.
Is there a corner you never got right?
That's a good question, Ian.
I I think there's corners where he never got right, or he never got the whole lap right. There's very few times. I mean, I guess if you get a lap record, you must be hitting it pretty right. But I think the trickiest section is the gooseneck. You know, I think, and again, it's such a corner where, and it's really sort of. You know, at Cadwell, everybody knows a gooseneck. You know, his mountain obviously is a jump, but in fourth gear entry into the gooseneck and trying to get it right and get an exit out is proper technical corner. And the guys who can get it right, you nearly count on your hand how many times you get it right. But it's all about discipline. You know, really technical.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah, gooseneck, Mansfield. That's a bit of a tricky one. There's so many lines around it. It was a bit awkward. I mean, in the old days when the used to have that chicane where you used to come flying into the bottom of the mountain, that was a real great spot.
Yeah, that's a good point. In the 80s, they did put that chicane in, is that right, Pop? You'll know more. Yeah, bottom of Mansfield, yeah. I don't know how long.
350, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ride that, Mark, with that little...
Oh yeah, I didn't mind it. And but I thought it was it really was never overtaking place, wasn't it? So it's never overtaking place.
Yeah,
I think Mansfield was, when it was normal, was difficult to overtake, but then when it's chicane, you can get on the inside and take someone's line a bit easier.
Yeah. Steve, where are you gone?
Any more questions? I've got one. Obviously, nature of the circuit, the way it is, uphill, downhill, obviously the famous mountain jump, 2 strokes or 4 strokes? What's your favourites?
Oh, go on.
I think with me, 2-stroke, because in my career, when I was riding a 2-stroke bike, it was a very, very good bike, and so the bike I was riding was very good. And when I was riding in 4-stroke, I never really felt I had a 4-stroke bike which was quite as good as it could have been, so you know, it was more difficult. So I think I just found the RG a lovely bike to ride, and I just sort of gelled with it.
CZ350 all day long, brilliant. So controllable, it was fantastic over the mountain, brilliant.
I think, I sort of grew as a rider, and I got a bit more smooth, and if you like, and so the 2-stroke days are forgotten really. My best days at Cadwell was on the Loctite bike, really, the OW, and that was quite good fun to ride around here. You know, quite easy. You know, 4-strokes are going to be easy for sure. So, I was thinking, just digressing a little bit. One of my my big breakthrough race win here was the Lincolnshire Yellow Valley, which was another classic Cadwell.
Yeah, good
event.
point, Rob.
And it was always a big event, that, and it was a handicap race where you would have the top riders. We've all got to go, haven't we? Yeah. No, the top riders were at the back, and the new guys or the slower guys were at the front. And it was a year when I just got going on my 350 pretty fast, but I was still a new guy, so I got quite a good early grid. And it was absolutely pissing down with rain. I mean, like bricks were swimming out of the bits of wood were floating over the top of the mountain. It was horrendous. And Roger Marshall was the pace man, scratch man. Yeah. And I can't remember. I must have been about 18, I think. Still erect, a bit fat, beard, teeth missing. And when I was one a pretty sight, and I had a big old bell staff on. It was honestly, it was pissing down. I had a bell staff on, and somehow I managed to win the race and got to the winner's podium. And Miss Yorkshire TV came to present the award, and I took my helmet off, and she stepped back a little bit, and with my bell staff on, and it was a big bell staff what I've been using for everything else, riding my Charles bike, a proper grubby thing. So she had a lovely white jacket on with her umbrella, with blonde lipstick. So I went in for a big cuddle like that with her, give her a kiss, and she could see her fighting me off. But it was my big day. So I left a big arm print round the black, round the white. But it was that was probably one of my best days at Cadwell. I beat Roger by, well, Roger's got to second, but it was just weather what did it really. Me and a guy called Mick Harness, my old buddy from Scunthorpe, battling it out, and I did him on the last lap. But it was a bit. Well, I still got the pictures, and they're pretty cringeworthy, I have to say. Please don't anybody look for those pictures anyway.
Yellow Belly, talking soon we brought the Yellow Belly up. Captain, did you do any Yellow Belly races?
Yeah, won the Yellow Belly, so it's quite good. I think we're all sort of. It was good if you could sort of get a good starting point. You had a good chance, didn't you?
I think there's a few handicap. Depends who was doing the handicap, really.
Yeah.
I think you had to give him a drink the night before, get him sweet. I always remember a bloke called Baz Parish getting a mega handicap, and somehow he didn't win it. And I remember it just, oh my God, you know. But
I remember when I've started scratching it, and I could hear the 1-2-5s coming as they were setting up on my RG.
Yeah.
They were well out of barn corner,
Yeah.
and he's still holding the flag. Then just drops it and you're away.
yeah, oh no. Did you when they get the Yellow Belly?
Yeah, I did, and it was on the 350. It was a great race, and I remember Roger Marshall came up to me just before the start, and he said, "Whatever you do, don't hesitate." He said, "Coming from behind, don't hesitate." So I'm flat out racing now, and I come across Jeff Baldock on his RD 400.
Tough man to pass. Tough man to pass.
In the gooseneck. Anyway, I just smashed in the side of him accidentally. There's no way I was backing up, and anyway, I went on to win it. So
You smashed in the side of him accidentally.
well, smashed. You know,
Are you
make
here,
it sound
Jeff?
dramatic, haven't you?
Where are you, Jeff? Are you in here? Stevie,
Oh,
you're
got any
still
more
in the
questions?
crowd.
Here we go.
Is it Jeff Baldock?
Right, you like riding in the dry. What did you think to it in the wet? And did you shit yourself even more than you did in the dry?
I want the best wet ride. Cadwell was okay because it wasn't used with cars and really slippy, so it was good grip. But you just had to get confident with it. And the thing in the wet is that it's one of them jobs where you've got to go faster to get the tyres working. So, but if you're a bit scared, if someone says you've got to go faster, you say, well, you get on the frigging thing. I'm not going any faster. But I had a good. Well, I didn't have a good wet race. I had a wet race here at the British Championship one year, and I got away with it. I had a really good lead in the last lap. Well, the last lap came round, and I'm sure my pit board said plus 0.3. I'm sure it said that. Anyway, I crashed at the bottom mountain, and Mackenzie was the first one to me. He says, "You wanker, what are you doing? You had 3.5 second lead." I'm going, "Oh, come if I just didn't know I couldn't see." But I crashed at the bottom mountain in the rain, just got caught out. But no, the Cadwell was a good track in the rain. To be fair, it's quite grippy.
I think a wet race could be the whole. It could be the. I think Donington was the worst. It could be the nightmare of a race there was. But here, if you got away and got out of the way of everyone, you could have the easiest race we've ever had. You know, well, everyone was sort of, because you can't dive under people. If you could have a free run from the mountain section to barn corner, you could gain a fair bit and just get out there and no one bother you and you're away with it. You know, but. Then if you're in mid-pack and got a bad start, it could be a horrible race, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, wet race is a confidence thing. It's, you know, you can be really fast in the dry, but in the wet it's a different game altogether. And you just build your confidence and you get better and better, don't you?
Okay, good questions.
And through that era, talking about the wet, you know, in my time, if it was peeing down with rain, Michael Rutter was going to win. You know, I know he stems back to your era, he's that flipping old. But in your times, was there somebody who was like you knew you was up against it anyway?
In my time, Steve, was Alan Carter. I mean, like you've only got did he win the? Or did he crash into in the MotoGP at Silverstone?
Yeah.
Where he's way out in front,
Yeah.
wasn't he? Yeah. And but he would. You know, you follow him, and you think he's not going around there. You know, sort of going around trying to think, well, he's going to be down. But somehow he did sometimes fall, but he was very, very good in the wet, very good.
Because he was light.
Yeah, he reckoned it was a disadvantage. He needed to be heavier to get more grip.
Right, any more questions? One more.
Oh, the wet Meister when I first got going really was Granty. When I joined Suzuki, he was my teammate, and he was something special in the rain. Although he used to design, he had Nigel, his mechanic, rebuilding his bike. If it looked like a little bit of rain, the bike would be rebuilt, different yokes, different shocks, different flipping. Oh my God, the bike was unrideable if it dried out, or his head was anyway. But it seemed to work. When in the rain, it was pretty special.
He's no different now. I was out trialling with him last week.
Yeah.
Same thing. Right, any more questions?
They didn't move about much, did he, Rob?
No, exactly.
No, well done.
Okay, well, there's just one other thing I just want to ask the lads, really. I mean, Cadwell, there's always a few stories behind the paddock and one thing and another, and I just wondered if you lads can remember a couple of things.
I wasn't alone in that horse box that night.
I mean, there's a couple that I remember, obviously, the Barker boys. I mean, they're just rum lads, weren't they, I think? I mean...
yeah, they were something else. They were brilliant, grateful.
But
the time the tractor went missing, the tractor went through the fence and they wouldn't start the race until someone owned up for it.
Jim Parker was shouting on the tannoy, wasn't he? You got to come, nobody would own it. The tractor was parked on the blooming track, wasn't it, you know?
Yeah, I did hear they owned up to it, but they wouldn't know who did it.
Who was it, Tim?
I can't say. Kim told me last year.
All right. And then...
Come on, he's 30 years old. He'll be dead now.
There was another thing, and he isn't here tonight, but it's quite a good story, really. Is Chris Kingsland. You remember this, Matt, when he was racing in the 80 race, and he had a Kawasaki 80, but it sounded completely different to any of the other 80s. Anyway, he won his race by quite a mile, and I think it was Steve Patrickson who was second behind him, and he complained. And in that day, they actually put it in the hut to be checked, and it was actually a 125. And Chris tried breaking in that night to try and with a barrel and head to get it swapped, but couldn't get in. So, but there's always a few stories behind there, Rob, isn't there? I bet there's some that.
What are you winking at me for? Well, a few stories behind Cadwell.
I mean, Cadwell's changed tremendously, hasn't it? I mean, it's beautiful now. It's a real nice place to come to. But
well, in the 80s, we still loved coming racing. But if you had to go to the toilet,
it wasn't that nice.
It was a bad place.
Did you have any bacon butties from the?
Yeah. But, it was stuck in. It was. I mean, Charlie Wilkinson used to check your van as you come in through the gates if you don't bring anybody in the back and open your boot, make sure you're not smuggling anybody in. And but he used to come back years and even later on, it was so stuck in the ways and really there's no investment in it, and it's only really the last sort of 10, 15 years that it's turned around like it has now. But everybody came and loved it. I mean, it was the most well-supported race every year, biggest crowd, biggest following, best riders, and we still couldn't find a toilet roll.
Pete, I remember like when I first started the practice days here, when he used to park up near Charlie's on the old stock car track, was it?
Yeah.
There was a little wooden toilet block there. I remember going in it when I was about 16, a little thistle in the corner. Before they knocked it down, it was a big tree.
There was something else on it. I mean, Thursday afternoon here was excellent, wasn't it? I mean, you'd have sidecars out there, you'd have blokes in jeans going round, and it was something different. All right, guys. Well, I think we'll stop for a small interval now, folks. We're going to have a 10-minute break. I think one or two might have ordered some more pie and peas. And we'll also do the raffle while we're having our little interval. So we'll do that. So grab yourself another drink, and we'll be back in a sort of 15-20 minutes. Thank you.
The inimitable Pete Boast being joined by Steve Plater, hosting a night full of the big names of motorcycle racing in the 1980s. We hope you're enjoying reliving this iconic era of motorcycle racing. We'll be back live to the Cadwell Park Clubhouse shortly. Have you watched our Cadwell People YouTube series yet? Head to youtube.com/Cadwell Park Official and join us for a story of the racing heritage which gives Cadwell Park its legendary status in the world of two-wheeled motorsport. Featuring local legends from Roy Toyne to Peter Hickman, the series continues in 2018. Here's a look back at the highlights of last year at Lincolnshire's international motorsport venue. 12 months in 2.5 minutes.
I still tingle when I hear a Norton or a Valiset come through here.
I mean, Sheeny said, I'll have one ride on it, Fred. He rode my bike all over the world.
To still be able to come and drive a car or ride a bike around Cadwell Park is fantastic, no matter when. And when the sun's shining, it's even better.
Could you imagine World Touring Cars coming to Cadwell Park? That'd be brilliant, that'd be awesome.
I look at it now and think, oh my God, it's narrow, it's an old style circuit from years ago. But I didn't see that danger when I was here on like the superbikes in the early 90s, and they were quick round it, obviously.
One thing I learned from the likes of Honda and Serge Rosset and Co, that even if you move forward at a snail pace, you have to move forward. But you mustn't forget the past, because that's where the future comes from.
Yeah, but I didn't have that in mind.
On November the 19th at Cadwell Park, we are having... Shall I do it without my voice breaking? It's the adolescent me breaking through. If you're just tuning in, you're watching a live stream from our Back to the 80s charity night, featuring star guests Rob McElnea, Mark Phillips and Paul Tinker, and hosted by Pete Boast and Steve Plater. We'll be back live to the Cadwell Park Clubhouse shortly. Welcome to the Cadwell Park Clubhouse, where we are building up to our Louth and District Friends of Cadwell Park charity night in aid of Links and Knots Air Ambulance. It's back to the 1980s on two wheels. We'll bring you a mixture of live interviews and entertainment from our hosts and their star guests, as well as a look at some video footage that we shot at Cadwell Park in 2017. This will be live, so we apologise in advance for any moments of raw emotion. Anyone who knew any of tonight's guests back in the 80s will perhaps have an idea of what we could possibly mean by that. Actually, most of them aren't much better these days. Tonight's event has been very popular, selling out in a matter of days, helped no doubt by the success of the last charity night, which took us back to the 1970s. So for anyone who didn't manage to get a ticket, we hope going live to parts of the event this evening will make up for not being here in person. So to tonight's hosts, well, the first of our presenters needs no introduction. Pete Boast has been racing just about every type of two-wheeled machine for just about as long as anyone can remember. Those closest would no doubt describe Boast's 80s antics as prolific, but tonight we'll stick to the on-track entertainment, and there was plenty of that too. A former British and European flat track champion, Boasty recently teamed up with Guy Martin for an assault on the Spa 4-hour race with Team Classic Suzuki. He's the driving force behind tonight's charity event, and it's fitting that he should lead proceedings. Another man who needs no introduction is Steve Plater. counting the 2009 British Supersport Championship and a victory at the prestigious Isle of Man Senior TT, as well as the Northwest 200 as credit to his name. Plater famously stood in for Josh Brooks on the HM Plant Honda Superbike in 2009. However, tonight we'll be calling on his other talent as he shares microphone duties with Boasty. On to our star guests then, and we start with Rob McElnea, winner of the Senior Manx Grand Prix in 1980 with TT wins in 83 and 84. McElnea won a round of the TT Formula One World Championship in 1983, ending the season second to Joey Dunlop. Rob spent 6 seasons riding 500cc Grand Prix bikes for Heron Suzuki, Marlboro Yamaha and Cabin Honda. He then won the British 750cc Formula One title in 1991. Second of our star guests is Mark Phillips, the captain, and arguably one of Britain's top racers of the late 80s. The captain won the British TT Formula One Championship in 1986, famously putting the cat among the pigeons by taking the title on a 500cc two-stroke bike amid rule changes aimed at giving four-strokes a chance to win outside of GP racing. Phillips also had an affiliation with our Cadwell Park Bike School, winning the King of Cadwell Trophy in 1987, undoubtedly the highlight of any racer's career. And we're also joined tonight by Paul Tinker, who rode for local team Fish and Cheek, winning the Yellow Belly Trophy in 1982. A top-flight 250 and 350 racer throughout the 80s, Tinker counts names like Niall Mackenzie, Alan Carter and Donnie McLeod among his rivals on track. In fact, he finished second to the latter in the British 250cc Championship in 1983. With many other names and faces from the world of two-wheeled racing in the room tonight, expect Boasty to go off script at any moment and add more names into the mix. That's all live from the Cadwell Park Clubhouse. Thank you for joining us here on Facebook. We're taking a quick break. We'll be back in the clubhouse soon with more live coverage from our 80s charity night, hosted by Pete Boast and Steve Plater. Tonight's event, hosted by Louth and District Friends of Cadwell Park, has been organised in aid of the Links and Knots Air Ambulance. The ambucopter team, based out of RAF Waddington near Lincoln, recently announced plans to run a 24-hour service. And along with a new helicopter, the team is providing critical care across our region. The Air Ambulance is a charity close to many a biker's heart, and all funds raised by ticket sales, raffle and auction tonight will go direct to the trust. Thank you to everyone who has helped make Christmas at Cadwell is back. After a successful launch in 2017, we'll be bringing back our festive heritage experiences in 2018. Be the first to find out about these and other events in the Cadwell Park Clubhouse by contacting the office or filling in a Clubhouse data capture form on your next visit. Building a legend on a shoestring. Roy Toyne has raced with the very best, and he's retained the passion that kept him fast between the curbs. We asked him back to Cadwell Park, a reunion which has been decades in the making.
I started riding in the fields on track bikes, and then as I come to be 16 years old, started work and bought another bike in a box of bits. Assembled it, and there was no lighting system with it, so the obvious choice was to bring it to Cadwell and see how it rid here. Yeah, the guy worked with my father. He was a self-employed sign writer named Blondie Phillips, lived in the village where I came from. Gave him the helmet, it was plain white, and told him to do something with it to make the commentators pick me out in a group of riders. And it came back like that, and that's the colours I've stuck with through all my career.
The motorcycle world needs its heroes, and they're not always the people who twist the throttle. This thing we do, it's all about people.
I just love it. I can't get enough of it, but I didn't think we was going to come back and do it again, but anyway, we are here. we're back here and we're enjoying it because people are coming to us and saying, you know, how wonderful it is to see him back on the track and blah blah blah, and we have a few laps up and back and forth down memory lane, and you know, and it's nice now because it's more relaxed, whereas when he was racing it was all full on, you know, we didn't have a minute to ourselves, and now it's like a leisure weekend out. We never had any money. I mean, he was a commercial fitter, and most people around here in Lincolnshire know that commercial fitters don't earn a lot of money, and I worked in a shop. In fact, at one bit I had 2 jobs so that he could have half of my money as well for the bikes and things, and as long as we had the money for the bills we were fine. As long as we paid the bills first, everything else went on to the bikes and going racing.
Making a return to the racetrack might not see Roy fighting for silverware these days, but when your life has been a story of motor racing, it's hard to stay away from that story.
People have seen me out doing the parades. I was invited back for the Cadwell 80th anniversary. Never thought I'd come back into the motorcycle racing scene. And the rest's history, really. We were never going to spend any more money on bike racing, but here we are.
It was nice when they invited him back to the 80th anniversary. We was really thrilled about it. The only one sad point about it was that his dad wasn't there, and he'd been with us all the time. He took us everywhere, to all the meetings, provided the van, didn't he, Roy, and everything, so, and we missed him, but I just said to Roy, well, never mind, darling, I said, he'll be sat on his shoulder at the 80th anniversary, he'll be watching on a cloud somewhere there.
So I'm proud of the fact that I raced with the likes of Roger Marshall, Derek Chatterton, Mick Grant, Mike Aylward, Barry Sheen.
A motor racing circuit in touch with what makes it great. This is Cadwell Park. Still to come, we'll hear more from tonight's star guests, plus more guests from our star-studded audience here in the Cadwell Park Clubhouse. We'll take a short break, and don't forget, you can join the discussion tonight on social media. At Cadwell Park, you're never far from the legends and stories of the motorcycle racing world that have captivated audiences over the years. And in fact, you don't have to travel far from this legendary circuit either to find out where those stories all began. I've come not more than 10 miles away from the circuit to this fantastic and very exclusive bike collection, and to a workshop owned and run by a man who has been behind more than his fair share of legends and stories of the sport. Meet Chris Mayhew.
To work with people like the great Steve Hislop, Steve Machin, Roger Marshall, and I've been friends since 1971, and we're still very close friends to this day. And of course Reg went on to be 12 times British champion, Daytona winner, etc, etc. That needs no introduction from me. Dominic Saron, Ron Haslam, Wayne Gardner, Ian Simpson. I could go on forever, I think, and I'm very proud of it too.
Chris's own successful motor racing career began in the late 1960s, but it was a chance trip to the TT in 1983 with Roger Burnett that presented an opportunity for Chris to take his talent for building bikes to the world stage.
My racing goes back to, I think, 1967, I believe I started with a 125 Ducati. Then we moved on to Velocets and Hondas and Bultacos and eventually Yamaha. Like everybody, you go as a lad and you watch your heroes, Mike Aylward and co, who's everybody's hero. With my brother who raced, my brother Les raced, and so I went with him and then progressed to start racing myself. I got my first win at Cadwell Park in 1970, at the end of 1970, on the 250 Honda, which I have a replica of now. And then we bought a Bultaco, and I started to do quite well at Cadwell in the club races, but then I had a big crash at Snetterton, so I didn't come back again till the October on the Yamaha. And then in 1972 I had some very good memories and some good rides at Cadwell Park. But I like 250 racing, so for me 250s, they're the superbike class. The big bikes are awesome things and they're wonderful and you can work on them, but the precision involved in setting the 250, in my opinion, is the ultimate.
Chris Mayhew can claim a big part of the Honda racing story as part of his portfolio, and in his collection of motorcycles is a very poignant bike for the legendary Japanese marque.
First one would be the RC71, which is, I believe, was Honda's first ever factory effort. There were only ever 5 made. I've got literature to support that. There are 2 in existence, one's unknown, and the other one is in the museum in Japan. So we've reconstructed a bike, made a lot of the parts myself to make the bike up. Unfortunately, the engine's not complete yet, but the chassis is more or less ready to go.
A generation or more apart from today's racers, Chris is all too aware of the importance of preserving the heritage of this beautiful sport.
We're all getting older and we think these things must be passed on to people to maintain the heritage. It's been a long road, but one worth travelling, I think.
We'll be back to the evening's entertainment in just a couple of minutes. In the meanwhile, let's take a quick look at what's happening in 2018 at Cadwell Park. We've got an explosive mix of 2-, 3- and 4-wheeled motorsport lined up for you. From the Motorsport News Circuit Rally Championship in April to the Bemsey Sidecar Revival in June. And of course, our headline British Superbike Party in the Park in August. Other highlights include an extended Moto Time Attack 3-day weekender, historic Formula 3 and touring cars, as well as visits from big race clubs including Thundersport, No Limits Racing, Auto 66, BARC and BRSCC. And of course, there's a chance for you to get on track with a range of track days on 2 and 4 wheels throughout the year. Cadwell Park is all about motor racing, but it is the people who have come back season after season to race here who give this circuit its soul. People like Michael Throssell, who first raced at Cadwell Park in the early 1960s, and at 75 years old is still feeding the power in between the curbs on track days today.
All I could afford when I first started work was to ride a motorbike backwards and forwards to work, and of course I was an avid reader of motorcycle news. Of course I would have liked to have perhaps done some racing, but it was totally impossible because I just wasn't earning enough, until some inspired character wrote in Motorcycle News, how about we start a Formula Bantam racing club? And he had a meeting in his house in Streatham, which I went to on my trusty Matchless, and I was in at the ground floor. So I built myself a racing Bantam from an old post office bike that I bought for about £10, and did all the tuning myself, just a little bit of reading in the books and a lot of work with Riffler files and various things, and eventually produced a viable bike. Unfortunately, people got faster and mine didn't. And it wasn't until 2004 when my nephew, who then got his bike licence, said, "Uncle Mike, we ought to think about doing track days." Well, I said, "Tell me about it." Unbelievably, something you don't normally see, but the local paper the following week had this particular track bike advertised in it. It goes as fast as I want to go, and I have a lot of fun on it, especially here, where this is my 30th track day here in this later sort of renaissance, and I still love the track as much as I did when I first rode it. In fact, more, I think, as I get to know it even better. Park circuits, by their nature, with their elevation changes and their real flowing corners, really appeal to me. I love Alton Park, and I love Cadwell Park above all others, I think, which is why I think I've done more track days here than in most other tracks in the country.
Motorsport of any kind requires the support of people around you, and not just tyre sponsors. Family are never far from the story, and for Michael, his wife Marjorie has been by his side in the paddock from the very start.
Of course, when I was into Bantam racing, I used to pick her up at her family's home at 4 o'clock in the morning with my dad's old Ford van and my Bantam in the back of it and a primer stove, and we'd trundle up the A11 to Snetton, where most of the Bantam Racing Club meetings were held. And here we are, 50 odd years down the road. What is Marjorie doing? She's getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning with me. She's coming here, she's putting tyre warmers on, she's making me cups of tea and in between sessions, and generally helping in exactly the same way. Not bad, really, 50 odd years later, to still be helping in that same way.
Michael joins a long list of riders and racers who have been visiting Cadwell Park for decades. For these people, like us, this circuit is a big part of their lives. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. When you experience Cadwell, you realise what is so special about our motorsport family. The inimitable Pete Boast being joined by Steve Plater, hosting a night full of the big names of motorcycle racing in the 1980s. We hope you're enjoying reliving this iconic era of motorcycle racing. We'll be back live to the Cadwell Park Clubhouse shortly. Welcome to Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire, which today is a very important place for the Honda Racing British Superbike team. After a challenging first round at Donington, they have got some work to do. So the team has come down here to piggyback on a Honda Motorcycles event as they launch the CBR 1000RR to test the bikes and have a go at sorting some of those problems out ahead of round 2. We have Dan Linfoot and Jason O'Halloran, as well as the full team, down here for some action between the trees at Cadwell Park. Here's a look behind the scenes. So what goes on when we're not racing?
We've got some issues we've got to get on top of. The only way we're going to achieve that is actual track time, and unfortunately it's just in and out. But you know, we're confident. Like I said, at Donington Park, if you look at it on the Friday, Saturday, it's the 7th day of us running that machine. So we've got a lot of work to do. We know that, but we're confident we can get on top of it.
We're actually here for a 3-day event with Honda Racing to ride around with some of the Honda dealers and for those guys to sort of learn more about the technical aspects of the bike and then get a chance to ride the bikes around Cadwell Park with myself and Jason on track as well. So yeah, it's a nice event, and obviously it's nice to have a few hours spare one day to get the Superbike out and do some important testing for our British Superbike campaign.
It's great to be here at Cadwell Park. I love riding around the circuit, and it'll be a really good test for us today with the things we need to try on the new Fireblade. Donington was a little bit of a steady start for us, but to be honest, we sort of knew that going there. With the first few days that we had, we knew we were sort of running out of time. So it was very useful data that we got from the 2 20-lap races. We made a big improvement from race 1 to race 2 with the overall race time, although the position was the same. So I'm looking forward to next week at Brands Hatch. You know, it's a strong championship this year, and we need to get on top of things quickly, which is why we're here testing today.
25 riders make up a packed 2017 British Superbike Championship grid, the cream of the crop for two-wheeled motorsport in the UK. Unarguably a dream job, and one which requires utmost dedication to the cause. What is it like to be a BSB rider in a works team like Honda Racing?
Well, that's what we live for, you know, that feeling on the grid where you're around 30 other bikes that are only a couple of metres away, and that sort of close proximity of turn 1 where you've all made a start and you're trying to fight for your position on track. It's instinctual, you know, you go for a gap and you slot in and then you start your sort of rhythm from there, really. And I love racing. I would say my performance is better in races than what it is in practice and testing, which shows I could improve in that area as well. So yeah, I know I'm lucky to do what I do. Maybe I should smile more, but obviously you always want to do better. You always want your last result to improve upon your last result.
For me as a kid, this is all I've ever wanted to do. So right now, I'm living the dream. It's in my opinion, it's the best job in the world. You know, I get paid money to race motorbikes, so it doesn't get much better than that for me. You know, the adrenaline, the satisfaction that you get from when you do a good job and you get things right. You know, it's like nothing else. So yeah, absolutely love my job.
It's a great race team. We've got fantastic facilities, great opportunities, and you know, for the guys to be here today working, look at the sunshine, the sun shines out, what better job could you ask for?
BSB attracts a huge following of fans from all over the world, and with 12 rounds taking in the UK's most iconic race circuits, including Donington Park, Brands Hatch and Alton Park, it's little wonder. Round 8 will once again see the annual pilgrimage to Lincolnshire for thousands of fans, right here at Cadwell Park, a favourite among the spectators and the teams.
Remember, if you look over on the hillside there, it's full of sheep at the moment, but I can remember when that was a motocross track, and we were up here practicing. I was up here, I think, with Dave Watson was the first time, and then with Ryan Hunt, Rob Herring when we used that. So that was right back in the 80s and early 90s. It seems a long time ago.
I'm starting to get a little bit of a better relationship with Cadwell Park in the most recent years. I've never really been a big fan in previous seasons, but I think I had a chat with you earlier. I didn't come from motocross, and the mountain's always been a little bit of a weak section for me. So again, somewhere to work on and improve on. I really do enjoy riding at Cadwell Park. The races are very frantic and feel very narrow and feel like they're at warp speed, but you know what, great atmosphere with a crowd, so many people, so close to the track, and it's always a special one during the season to come to Cadwell Park, especially with it being the home of Honda Racing and only a few miles up the road. It's a really important race for them as well as me.
Cadwell Park for me, it's so different to what I grew up racing on back in Australia, and from the first day that I rode here I really clicked with it. I love the setting, you know, here in Lincolnshire, and I just absolutely love the circuit. You know, it's a demanding race, probably one of the hardest races on the calendar. The circuit's very physical and very demanding on the body. You know, it takes a lot of concentration, and you know, the atmosphere here on race weekend is just like none other race that we have all year. So you know, I can't wait to get back here for the British Superbike race, and you know, last year we had a double podium with third and second, so hopefully we can go a couple better this year and get a double win.
So can Honda Racing get their teething problems ironed out? And will Dan and Jason go one better at Cadwell Park in 2017? You could be there in person to watch the spectacle unfold, along with all the other attractions that make the British Superbike round at Cadwell Park such a popular event in the UK bike racing calendar. Visit cadwellpark.co.uk for more information and to book advance tickets. If you're just tuning in, you're watching a live stream from our Back to the 80s charity night, featuring star guests Rob McElnea, Mark Phillips and Paul Tinker, and hosted by Pete Boast and Steve Plater. We'll be back live to the Cadwell Park Clubhouse shortly. The dream, the big one. The one they all want to tame, the TT.
You can't get too more extreme, but this is good, you know, it's got some jumps. That place has got a lot of jumps. This place we maybe top 160, that place we're going to top 107 or something.
The unique road racing formula of Cadwell Park is perfect for a spot of testing ahead of one of the world's most famous motorcycle races. And for one of Lincolnshire's very own TT hopefuls, Gary Johnson, the dream started right here.
It is unlike any racetrack, and there's very few, or none in England even, that's like Cadwell. You know, so we're lucky it's on my doorstep. I got to race and grow up here. First time coming here was 2003, and I come on an old rubbish R6 carburetted pre-injection bike, and I was racing round here and met the mountain for the first time, and that was the biggest thing for me. I come from motocross, and this has got a jump in it, and I was like, I think they ought to put these jumps in every track. You know, Cadwell is so unique in that, and I know it's known around the world for it. People want to know which is that track with a big jump in, and yeah, Cadwell's it. It's a fantastic place, and just love coming here every time. And when it's a sunny day like today, there ain't no better place. Triumph Daytona 675. The R model, it's a weapon. It's a weapon I've won on in 2014. This is an amalgamation and a bit of a move from that bike. It's still generically the same bike and same engine tuner, John Trigger, and we're trying different suspension companies, and I'm just playing with it, trying to make it a little bit better, and fingers crossed, like, she'll be in different colours and that, but it's a mega bike, and the Triumph is one of the, you know, it's a fantastic 600 motorcycle. It's a pity, you know, it's coming to the end of its shelf life, but it's still right up there when it comes to taking races on and hopefully winning TT still.
Motor racing is not just bikes, not just racetracks, not just world famous road races. Motor racing is people. That's where the story starts, where the real race is won.
The unsung hero, my dad, and maybe he's the wrong age of mechanicking and that he really should be, but without him we wouldn't have been able to do this. So it is back to my grassroots, and there's lads who are just helping us out, running stuff around the country, picking stuff up for us. This whole sport relies on volunteers. They should be paid a nice wage and a lot more, like everybody in this world. But without them, the Orange Army, you know, they are like total unsung heroes, and it's great. Like I say, we're here today and there's a full marshal squad, and then every time we come racing, each club event has them all, and then, like I say, and then the Isle of Man's just a different kettle of fish altogether. Hats off to them, and anything that they need for any fundraising to help the job, I'm well behind it.
Tonight's event, hosted by Louth and District Friends of Cadwell Park, has been organised in aid of the Links and Knots Air Ambulance. The ambucopter team, based out of RAF Waddington near Lincoln, recently announced plans to run a 24-hour service. And along with a new helicopter, the team is providing critical care across our region. The Air Ambulance is a charity close to many a biker's heart, and all funds raised by ticket sales, raffle and auction tonight will go direct to the trust. Thank you to Christmas at Cadwell is back. After a successful launch in 2017, we'll be bringing back our festive heritage experiences in 2018. Be the first to find out about these and other events in the Cadwell Park Clubhouse by contacting the office or filling in the inimitable Pete Boast being joined by Steve Plater, hosting a night full of the big names of motorcycle racing in the 1980s. We hope you're enjoying reliving this iconic era of motorcycle racing. We'll be back live to the Cadwell Park Clubhouse shortly. Cadwell Park is revered throughout the motorcycling world as being one of the ultimate tests of machine and rider. Even driving this iconic 2.2 mile road racing circuit with its green and white barriers and its parkland setting, it's easy to see why this circuit has gained such legend status among bike enthusiasts all over the world. But it's fair to say, to get the full picture, you need to snap your visor shut and get out here on two wheels. And to help us with that, here's well-known bike racer and MCN chief road tester Michael Neves. This is Cadwell Park on two wheels.
So we're on the start of the flyer. This track feels so fast on 1000, it takes a while to acclimatise to the speed. Now we're braking at the first service road there. I'm going to turn in hard at the second service road. The track goes really steeply uphill here, so you've got to carry a lot of momentum. It takes your breath away how fast you can get through there. Stay out to the left hand side of the track so you can get a good turn into Charlie's 1 and squirt it hard up and over the hill for Charlie's 2. Now we've got to power through Charlie's 2 onto the straight. There's a bump going onto the straight which is a bit nasty. You've got to watch the front end there. And now we've got to go right over to the right hand side of the track to get a good straight line braking for Park. Now this feels absolutely ballistic. You've got braking markers on the left. I brake just at the 2. Proper hard braking here, really hard. But here you've got to carry a lot of momentum through this corner, so you've got to let go of the brakes as soon as you can. Use all the track coming out. Just keep accelerating towards Chris Kerr. Just ease off a little bit and straight back on the throttle. Now I'm mainly staying on the right hand lane of the 2 bits of time out all the way round. Then I pick the bike up and squirt it to the left hand side of the track for a bit of speed before I turn into the gooseneck. Quite easy, right, left. Now down into Mansfield. Don't want to use too much of the track coming out of here. You need to get over to the left for the chicane, which is just one of them corners you've got to be steady through. You'll probably lose more time than you can gain through a corner like this. And now we're approaching the mountain. Now, from a spectator's point of view, this is the best bit of
Okay. Come on, Owen. Okay, legend, we're going to carry on now with our talk with our three guests. Just one thing first before we start, I'll just let you know that we have actually got Paul's here working on Facebook and we're on live. How many views is it, Paul?
4,000.
4,000? Ooh, we're all bloody famous. They all want to donate and all, Paul, a bit. Just one thing also, you guys have just stood there's some people behind you just struggling to see. If you wouldn't mind just either pulling in or pulling around the front, that would be really good. Just help them to see. Also, Mr. Meltwheeler has given this to me. It's the wheat shift, which...
Malcolm?
Malk, is it for the TT charity again? Or? Oh, could Steve go down?
Are you sure? He never should.
He wants to be on there, doesn't he? He's keen to be on there.
Which one's Mount Wheeler?
It's me. It's the Wheat Chief in Louth. It's a fundraiser for the TT Riders Association, which is a charity that looks after old, infirm, injured TT riders and their family, but me, basically.
Like ourselves.
It's in the pub car park. There's no charge for admission. We have a massive raffle, a really big auction for some really nice stuff. Loads of TT stars, TT winners. Rob Max just told me he's coming. Tinks. Tink's coming. The captain's definitely coming. And some guy called Steve Plater apparently won a TT or two. But it's a really good day. It's free admission. It's a cracking pub, nice beer, good food, and a lot of fun. And the last time we ran it 2 years ago, we raised £8.5 grand in the day.
Oh, well done, Mark. When is it?
You've got the flyer there, son.
I don't know what it is. I want you to tell everybody.
It's July the 29th, last Sunday in July. There's absolutely nothing else on, no racing. Aberdare Park's the week before, Pete.
Yeah, I know, I'll see that.
So it's a free weekend for everybody, and it's a good excuse. With any luck, the council are going to let us close the road again in front of the pub for bike parking. So if anyone's coming down on the bike, then you can park right outside the pub on the one-way system.
Right, great. That's a great day. Sunday, July the 29th, all day at the Wheat Sheaf, 11 till 6. You're going to see some top stars there, and of course Mount Wheeler as well.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on a little bit. We've talked about Cadwell and in the 80s and stuff. We're really honoured to have you boys sat up here. We're just trying to dig a little bit more out of you, really, and just talk about your full careers a little bit. And I'm going to start with the captain, because I know quite a little bit about Mark. I certainly raced at the same time all the time you did, Mark. We mentioned the start. You started racing here at Cadwell. You were sponsored by Webbs and Lintec, I believe. Yeah, use your
mic. Yeah, my first sort of, obviously my dad, owned my bike.
Who's here tonight, Derek?
He's brilliant, he's mega. It really, so my dad and myself went down to Paget's and bought the TZ350, and like Rob said, what a lovely bike. And it was sort of bike where you could really compete, come out your club racing and compete at a higher level and make a name for yourself, and it was a brilliant bike for that.
Yeah, and I remember you winning many races at the top level on that, Captain. And also you did the same as Tink, and you did the Pro-Am series at the same time as well.
Like obviously, when I won the Pro-Am races, we were on television, World of Sport in them days, and it really was sort of a great sort of showcase for you, really.
Yeah, funny enough, Captain, a little story about that, and my mechanic here, John's about that. Can you remember that, John? I was racing.
Your garage pit,
you was. I was racing in the big race.
You had a 500 the two had a garage.
Yeah, I had a garage, and Mark come in and says, "Do you mind if I can have your corner of your garage?" I says, "Oh yeah, all right, Mark, come in, get it, corner of my garage." And Mark just won all the races that day, and we were swamped with people, and we couldn't even blooming move because Mark had cleared up that day. But
what I've never shared a garage with a nice person.
Thanks, Mark. That was good. And Mark, you then moved on to riding. How did the Paget's deal come about?
Well, I mean, my dad used to race with Peter and Don Paget, and you know, and I remember him saying, we're talking at, I don't think it's Cadwell, but one of the circuits, and he got Gary Paget's bike for sale, the 350, and we went down to look at it and bought it, and you know, and obviously, you know, I rode for Paget's, and you know, with them, you know, you think that some of the bigger teams are better, and it's all going to be brilliant, and it can be. But when I was with them, they really took me on like I was their son, really. And great. The bike was always brilliant, you know, and they really did want you. It's very hard when you're in a team where, you know, you think people really want. There's not a lot of people really mind what you do, really, but with them, you know, they're as keen as what your home family are for you to do well, and that, and so I felt really, you know, I didn't realise at the time, but I really enjoyed that part of my career riding for them.
And you initially rode the RG, the Open RG, but then you rode a TT Formula 1 RG, which was a little bit different.
Well, it was. First of all, my first RG was an RG 500 Extra Avant Mark 7, like what Owen's got down there. Same colours, Works Blue Suzuki colours. Was great. I went to a European race and was on the podium there in Vallelunga. And then I came back and Peter said to me, "Look, I wanted to ride the Mark 12 at Cadwell, because he did well in Italy and everything like that." So then that was the start, you know, riding, because Gary was going to ride that bike, but then he just stayed on the smaller bikes, because he was better on the smaller bikes than the bigger bikes, and I was riding. So really, the bike was for Gary, I was riding, and they used to produce. They're the only company outside of Japan to actually build a Japanese new bike. And it was the RG Mark 12, which all the bits were sent over, and it was built at Batley. And then the Formula 1 bike, which you asked me, so I'm waffling on, the Formula 1 bike was a RG Mark 7 frame, like was down there, with a road Gamma engine, which was a brilliant bike. And then I remember when I qualified on a pole at Formula 1 at Aston on it, and Kevin Swanson's pit crew looking around and everything, and he actually did ride one the following year.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, crikey. And you won the British TT Formula 1 title on that bike as well, didn't you, Mark?
Yeah. I mean, it was a brilliant bike. I mean, the transformation of that bike, that had been a bit boring, was, I remember at Aston, when I qualified on pole with it, Clive said, "I've got a good idea, we're going to put the different ignition on it." Well, it made that much more power, the ignition, and I was running down the straight every time my hand on the clutch, thought it's going to blow up. So it was a different bike, you know, about another 3,000 revs, everything like that. But the good thing about it was, I mean, there was, at that time, Rob was in GPs, but on the Suzukis was Paul Eden and
Roger Marshall, Joey Dunlop.
Yeah, that's right. But the bike, it was so light. The actual road Gamma engine was only the same size as a Works 500, which was smaller than the RG engine. So it was so light, and it handled so well and everything. But the only thing was it's heavy on fuel, so I ended up in 6th race, I had to have a pit stop, and the 4 stops went straight through.
You also, did you ride the TT for Paget's as well, or your first TT?
Yeah, and it seized the point. I was running like about 6 quickest on times in practice, everything for the race, and it broke down on the 3rd lap. I wish it had broke down on the 1st lap, to be honest. I didn't know where I was going.
You survived it.
Scared myself to death.
Captain, and then you changed to really what what made you go then? You joined Loctite Yamaha.
Yeah, I mean, well, I joined Loctite and I thought I was over the moon. Where I could have rode the RC30 for Honda, well, Ron Grant, or what he was running, or Loctite. So I chose Loctite because we were getting the Bimoto Yamahas, which when I was doing the Formula One races, Binio Ferrari and Tardoja, they were the bikes, to be honest. I mean, there was, they were. Yeah,
they handled mega.
Unfortunately, without sounding like a whinging racer, the promoters we had weren't. I think they were struggling to get the right engine bits and things. So it was basically a super stock engine, and then it just wasn't really competitive, to be honest.
Right. But that's the reason you went to Loctite. But you carried on racing for Loctite, obviously.
Yeah, and then, well, we were unfortunately, being moaning again, I had my bad accident in Loctite at the World Formula One at Donington when I crashed for a brake failure, crashed into the Melbourne Loop, and really my career changed after that day.
Yeah, folks don't know, sorry to interrupt, Mark, but the folks don't know, you mean it was a near-death experience, we was all worried. You was riding fantastic at the time, and it was a mechanical failure, wasn't it, Captain?
Yeah, but it's happened to, and every, people in any sport get the bad luck, and it's just something what, you're thinking at Antoine, but the main thing, the other option is a lot worse than we've got now, I mean, if that's been anywhere apart from Donington, I don't think I'd be here, so, with the facilities had in, nowadays things are a lot better everywhere, aren't they? But, the head of the Donington Medics there was a man called Mr. Jarrett, who was head of A&E in Queen's Med at Nottingham, and, I died 3 times in the ambulance, and I threw him out of my life. But it's just after then, I was struggling really to be as comfortable on the bike. Not because of my mind or anything like that, just because of in them days the network in my leg and things. All these riders know here about how important it is. If you're not comfortable on a bike, it is hard. Dragging your feet places you can't get them. Just so they made things difficult, but I still really enjoyed my racing after, and it went a different path. I sort of raced at a lower level when I did the Triumph Championship, but we had great times with Triumph. Won the series, and I did a lot of work with Triumph with the development of the bikes and doing testing for them and things, and so maybe I wasn't doing like what Rob was doing, which I wanted to do, but. Still really enjoyed it.
I believe, Mark, when you did have the accident, you was sort of really going to Grand Prix, I believe, at that point. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, but everyone gets told these things, don't they? When you join these teams, but it could lead to a MotoGP ride. But like we all do, we all trying to sell things, don't we?
Yeah. Well, I know. After your accident, you still carried on racing superbike straight away. So, you did get a result at Brands Hatch, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I won the last British Championship round on television at Brands Hatch, both races, and I got dropped from the team. But that's not, and I don't mean it. I've every respect in the world for Rob McElnea. He's a brilliant rider, brilliant bloke. But the team, Rob was coming out of MotoGP, the team wanted Rob, and obviously there was no seat for me. But Rob took my ride.
Sorry about that, Mike. That was old Asbeen as well coming back.
So I sort of had a sort of rode for Harris for a bit, but then sort of went out of the job for a while. Then I come back with a Triumph.
Yeah, you did. I remember you switched to Harris. You had your white OW. You was riding pretty good again, I thought. You did have another crash straight in front of me at Scarborough, which was a bit scary. But you carried on riding. You was doing really well. Then you had a little break. And I can't believe how you come back and rode in that Triumph Series. I mean, I don't know, Steve, you must have been about when Captain was in that Triumph Series.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I think I raced after you'd won the championship, I think, in the following year, I think, yeah, and obviously, you had the best bike being a test rider, but... But no, awesome, really. I mean, not an easy bike to ride either. nothing like.
No,
what you
but
did
it's
before.
still not like riding a superbike and like that because you haven't got the speed and it's a big old lump of a thing, but they are comfy. Well, you ain't got full mobility, it's very comfy setup there, riding around.
So just rewinding a little bit, obviously coming through and getting the Paget's ride and everything, we see now the modern BSB series is fabulous, especially here at Cadwell, but a lot of those boys are paying for rides or taking big, was it lucrative for yourself to be riding and racing back through the 80s, or was it all out of your sponsors?
I remember Rob riding for Paget's and he won the World Superbike at Hungary, great ride, and I don't think he'd come back with a wallet full of money.
From Paget's?
It might have cost
I'm still paying the fuel bill, I think.
You did ride well that day, Rob, didn't you?
I was third, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I never won fuck all.
I thought you won.
Thanks for reminding me.
I thought when Clive
You're
was
doing that on purpose, just because I nicked you right.
I'm sure Clive said that bike won a World Superbike.
Well, no, he had told half a dozen of them as well.
No, he said it was good enough to.
That's more like it.
And then Mark, you even raced a 250 Aprilia there was a little Aprilia series. And,
Yeah, the General Guarantee I was riding for the Triumph. Then they run the Aprilia thing. That was good.
You won it, didn't you, Cap? You won.
No, Matt won it. Matt Llewellyn won the series.
Matty won it, yeah.
But and on about when people say, you can't, if you can be too big for the small two strokes. I remember Dave Jeffries winning around. And now he could ride any motorbike, and he's a big old lump Davy Wolf, wasn't he? And he was on that little 250. He looked like a little scooter underneath, and he just cleared off.
That was brilliant. And Mark, what year did you retire? Was it?
The last season was 99.
99. I got you down. Yeah, 99. And obviously, if you don't know, you must. If you live near Lincoln, you certainly know where Mark is now because we've got a sign outside.
If there one more racing, I wouldn't need a shop.
Yeah, but the car looks good outside the shop, Mark.
That's my sister's.
Brilliant. All right, Mark. That's good. What a career, everybody. Just give that one a round of applause. Brilliant. Tell you what, I think it's going to be hard to top that, isn't it? Hey?
Much chance of that.
Well,
I only had a short career. I started.
You started like 80, 90, 79.
Yeah, June.
And you retired 87.
85.
85?
End of 85, yeah. Because Matt Wheeler got me started.
Well, there he is.
Go.
Take some credit, Malk.
Yeah, I was a bit crazy on a road bike and I had to get off the road really, so I started racing on RD 400.
Who did you buy that yourself?
I bought that myself, and then
was that the last bike you bought yourself?
It wasn't. They used to have a club meeting at Cadwell, and it was a sponsored meeting. There was a guy called Tony Norbury of Fish and Chick who he used to sponsor quite a few riders, and he was a great chap. And he put it in the programme that he would sponsor a rider the following year, the most up-and-coming young rider in Cadwell on the day. He won both the races and we went on from there. I said, I want to carry on with my 400, and he said, no chance. He said, I'm not sponsoring that thing, so I had to get a 350.
Yeah.
And that was another path that sort of.
Did he buy? Was it your 350?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I bought it with.
What was the sponsorship? Free fish and chips or what?
Oh no, it was supposed to be something like 600 quid and a set of leathers, but it ended up it at least trebled that. He was a brilliant guy. Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, he used to give me a vehicle. And one time I used to tow a trailer with my TZ on the back, and I had like a little combi van thing. And then once he had shares in a wildlife park up in Scotland. So I'm in this big Land Rover with owls on the side of it. Driving this race meeting with a trailer behind it. It was hilarious. But he really helped me. It was brilliant. And then
you moved on to was it the John Bull?
Yeah, from then on I was obviously on my 350 for a year, and I was getting quicker and quicker. And then John Bull sort of took an interest in me, and he started backing me on a 350. then a 250, and then I got on the Pro-Am as well. And that really snowballed then, because we were getting loads of recognition off that. It was fantastic, and I was quite lucky to get good starts in it. So I was at the front.
Same as last year. This last year, then thing. It's fastest bike again.
Oh no! Oh, you fat blokes! No, it was a really good series for young riders, and the prize money was fantastic. So that used to help us run our other bikes.
Yeah.
And but I've sort of followed down the 250 path really, and we got a really good 250, and we ended up at the British Grand Prix riding for Yamaha alongside Alan Carter with Donny Robinson, who broke his leg.
Did you have to have a Mitsui fairing or something? I know a story about that.
A bit sort of the end of the sponsorship really. Me and John Bull, we had a good sort of working relationship, but he went off on holiday to France, and obviously I couldn't contact him. Mitsui got in touch with me to ride alongside Alan Carter at the British Grand Prix on the 250. They had Donny Robinson's 250, and I had the John Bull one. But to make them look the same, we put both Mitsui fairings, but with John Bull over them and the rest of it, and all the other sponsors. And the John Bull bike was out the quicker than the other one. So I ended up riding his bike in the race, and he turns up on race day, and one didn't go down so well. But it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. And did you win the British Championship on the Yam, or was it later on?
That was the year before. On the it was still a John Bull bike.
Yeah.
And my own 350.
Yeah.
And in '83, it was the British Championship was just one race at Brands Hatch, and me and Smutty Robinson had a fantastic race right to the very last. There was half a bike length in it at the flag, and it was a fantastic race. But it just picked me.
And then you, I think this is mine. Then you moved to Armstrong. Is that correct?
Yeah, I went to the Randall Armstrong team, and really fantastic sponsor again, really good. And we did. Unfortunately, the bikes were still framed. They were a bit past the sell-by date, if you like. They weren't quite quick enough. It was quick enough, but it wasn't in the same league as the Yamaha, really. But and I never finished the race for the first time out on it. It was a test day at Donington Park with all new leathers, helmet and everything like that, all painted up. And we run this bike in all morning. I went out in the afternoon, and flat out down Quain Caves, it just seized up solid and took me straight through the screen. It was like, just wrecked everything. And we never finished the race till, I think the first race I finished was Northwest.
Really?
And that was only because Hickey's dad, who used to be a top mechanic in his day, he, before I went there, I said, look, if you don't help me, I'm going to die. I need some carburetor to get this thing to finish. Can you help me out? And he was working, I think he was working for EMC at the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, he just gave me some basic settings, and it just ran on, and we did that, and then went to the TT. I finished 6th at the TT with it.
Your best result, yeah.
Well, because it's a win really. There was 5 Irish in front of me. You can't beat them around there.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, and then I know you had a spell with Silverstone Armstrong as well. Was that?
Yeah, we ran 2 years with Ruth, and then towards the end of the year, we was just struggling with the bikes really. It was just not competitive enough. They were too heavy, and Chas Mortimer was running Donny and Neil, and he wanted a third rider the following year. And so I sort of went for the last 5 meetings of the year. It was like supposedly a development rider or to get used to the bikes. But I was riding. They had a 16-inch front wheel in, which was a nightmare, absolute nightmare. They were doing Grand Prix on a 16-inch front wheel, and we could get the heat in the tyre. And trying to ride a 16-inch front wheel in this country was just a waste of time. And I fell off it and made a mess of it a couple of times. But anyway, the last round at the Power Bike International at Brands, he gave me a 17-inch wheel and the tyre. So I finished 3rd behind Donny and behind Neil and Donny. That was my last ever race, and it was a different bike with that. Yeah, it was great.
And what led you to return? Because it's such a short career.
Yeah, the following Chas was he was waiting on quite a large sponsorship deal to run me as the third rider with Donny and Neil at the Grand Prix, and me in this country and doing the odd Grand Prix, but mainly sort of sticking with the British Championship. On one of them bikes, it would have been great. And but this big sponsorship deal fell through right in the February time sort of thing, just as he was getting ready for the season. So that was the end of that, and I didn't want to take a step backwards going on to something uncompetitive again. So
just something that people maybe didn't know also, you went into kart racing and was British champion at karts.
No, I wasn't.
Was you?
So close.
All right, no, misinformation.
I led the I had 12 years off, and then a guy I worked for, he wanted me to sponsor me on bike racing, but I didn't want to do it. And anyway, it was a couple of weeks later, I saw a guy called Roy Patterson. He'd won the British Kart Grand Prix on 125 at 50-year-old, and I thought, well, that's got to be safe. I'm up for that. So I went to see him, and he said, yeah, I'll sponsor you on that. So that was brilliant. So anyway, I went off into the karting career, and it was really good fun. I'm fairly safe, unless you tip it up. A great while I'm on four wheels, but when they're upside down, they're not so much fun. But the lap speeds are incredible around here.
Oh man, when you watch them go through all bends, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely, really quick. But no, I had a really good career on it. I won 3 British Kart Grand Prix, and I led the British Championship right until the last round, and then I got beaten on the last round. So by a 9 times British champion. It was pretty cool.
Well, I think you've all got to agree, everybody, that Paul Tinker is an early man. I think, and what a great bloke. Give him a round of applause. Yeah. Right, Rob, we've got a short...
comfortably, you three.
Yeah, where do we start, Rob? I think most people know when we have talked about what you've done in your early days there, riding the 350s, 750s and so on. Rob, you went to, was your first works ride with Suzuki? Am I correct to that?
Yeah, 83.
83 with Suzuki. You did I believe you did you do the TT on that year as well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I did.
You got an impressive I've looked at your TT record, I know what it is.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, because you it's a big test here, big test.
Well, I have to say, before we start on the TT, I can't actually remember what I did. I think it was 2 seconds, 3 wins, and I don't know, anyway.
I know exactly what you did.
I was doing a bit of a markism there, but anyway, I think I would have had at least one more podium if it weren't for Don Briggs not filling my petrol tank up.
Oh, come on.
I know. I mean, poor old Don. I know I shouldn't get on there, but no. Don, do you want to come clean after all these years?
You forgot about it.
No, I'll tell you the story. It was 82 TT, and the whole team from Rugby went to the Alaman and with the 350 and the 750. And the 750 race set off, and the first lap was wet and damp and really horrible, and he really tried to suss out where it was okay. Second lap getting a bit dry, and I just got zoned in. I knew we could go quick, and it was all looking good. So got to the end of the second lap, getting myself really dialed in for it. Come onto Glen Country Road, under the screen, 5th gear. Dom's there with the filler waiting for me, like that with the filler. He's like, meow. He's like, fucking, that was it. Was that him? I totally forgot to stop. I was totally engrossed in it, and I got as far as Kurt Michael before I stopped and parked up in the petrol station. And I still didn't know what had happened with the bike. I had no idea that was on the 3rd lap. It's just totally stupid, I guess. And Don came to pick me up. I said, Don, what the hell happened to the fuel? He said, he didn't even stop. That'll be it then. I've forgiven you, Don, anyway.
That's pretty unfair.
Every year afterwards, I had someone at Governor's Bridge with a massive sign saying, pull in. Like, spelled out, pull in, and you wanker at the bottom.
And you certainly changed things around the next year, Rob. You got a win in the senior, 3rd in the F1, and then I think you took a couple of wins the year after.
Yeah, I mean, I love the TT, and I went to the Manx, did a Manx, and just sort of place where if it comes to you, I was quite lucky. I could learn tracks, and again, I think a lot of it from learning your trade at Cadwell Park. That I learned tracks really fast. Wherever I went around the world, I was always sort of straight on it. And the TT came to me easy, and I really loved it. I had a lot of respect for it, and I loved every minute of it. So I think when you're really enjoying it and it's flowing, it comes. So, and really, I was riding. I was one of the few. I was probably the last one to come from Grand Prix and do TTs at the same time. So I was doing short circuits, and it was really quite sharp. You know, a lot of TT guys ride only the TT, or the Irish guys only ride at the roads. They don't really come from the front end of the short circuit series. So you could go to the TT and ride 90% within yourself and still be quick enough, really. So,
just talk us through that parade lap on the R7 then. What sort of percentage was that?
Was that 90%?
Part of it was 100.
Well, that was there's a long story to that. But it was, I don't know if anybody, well, probably no one even knows, do they? So let's just keep it between us, shall we? No, I was asked to do a parade lap on Tommy Hill's superbike, and I wasn't really up for it, but I did. It was a big occasion, and I took my dad with me. We've got time for this, haven't we, Pete?
Yeah, fine. Carry on.
And I took my dad with me, and he never saw me race at the TT. He was working abroad. He never got to the TT, so I wanted to take him. And 72-year-old, a little bit weak, but all right. So I flew him in on a private plane, him and his old buddy, and picked him up. I was there doing some stuff. Got him to meet Aggo. Got him to meet all the guys. They had a fantastic day. Took him down Braille to watch the race and so on. Took him back to the paddock, and he's starting to get a bit wobbly, and he's feeling ill. And I'm like, oh, yeah, right. And he was sick in the corner, and he's saying, Rob, your bike's on Glencountry Road, it's your slot. I'm like, well, my dad's. So I left my dad for being wobbly. I think it was Philip Neal looking after him. So I jumped on the bike, set off down Braille, and I was somewhere else. I was totally somewhere else.
Not good on the arm.
Not good, no. And I was sort of, and I tried to, I promise I wasn't going fast at all. And at the start, McGuinness
keep you giggling at this point?
Well, how ridiculous it is. McGuinness says to me, he says, oh, there's oil down Sarah's. I'm like, fucking hell, I'm not going to be going anywhere near that. I'm going for a wobble round. Next thing, I'm on the oil at Sarah's cottage in the wrong gear. You know, like everybody knows, you go out of, what's the left? Glen Ellen, and you go second gear, and you stay in second gear, and the next Sarah's cottage, everybody who's with the TT course knows Sarah's cottage is notorious. Tightens up, wait for it, stay off the gas. Second gear, leave it in second gear, back onto Concavori. So I go second gear, third gear. I grabbed the gear and gassed it, Steve, you can't believe it. And then before I knew it, I was like aiming for the bank. I had my knee on the ground. I mean, I never touched my knee on the ground for like 20 years. So I flung it on the ground trying to go around the corner, and I just rose straight to the bank. I went in the tree. The bike, Tommy Hill's super bike, which I've just built for like flipping 80 grand, in the tree. And I'm sliding on. I didn't really hurt myself. Mentally, I scarred myself. I didn't really hurt myself. I jumped up, and there's a bloke two blokes in the bush with a camera taking pictures. I'm saying, you are going to delete that right now. And one of them was a part-time marshal, and so I'm only like 5 miles in or 6 miles in, so I've got to wait for the whole parade lap before I can get the bike and get home. And I said to the marshal, who just watched me ram the bike into a wall, can I borrow your bike? And I got back. He's like, oh. So I got the keys off. He had a brand new Kawasaki, and I got the keys off. As soon as the pace car went past, I went the opposite way around. So I got back to the pits, parked in the back of the pits. There was a buzz around saying, "Got Matt's crash somewhere." I could hear him nearly taking the piss. I could have sort of get the vibe. Anyway, I got back into the pits, got my dad, who was fine. Got to our private plane. I know it sounded a bit flash. Got to our private plane, and I was off the island. And when I landed, my phone went. Whittam rings me. He said, "Hey, where are you?" I said, "I'm back in flipping Lincolnshire." He says, the word around the paddock is he crashed. I said, I did actually. Honestly, you cannot believe the piss take. It lasted a year, I tell you. And then I had to go and repair the bike when I got back as well. So I'm not doing any more parade laps. I'm not allowed.
Yeah, great story, Rob. I think we ought to move off the TT, don't you?
Well, the TT, I say I loved it, and for me it was always a stepping stone. Once I'd done one and I loved it, I realised that it was a genuine stepping stone to go further. There was teams, Suzuki GB, Yamaha and Honda. They all like Suzuki and Honda had teams going to GPs. So it was my goal. I never really had a path set out, but I really wanted to try and go to the toughest place every time. So I never really followed any championships. I just rode where I could and where the biggest challenge was. So I really wanted to get to GP somehow. And the TT was a genuine stepping stone. If you went and won the TT, and I won it for Suzuki then gave me a chance on the 500. And I got to, and I won in 83, so they gave me a 500 at the end of 83 to go to Australia to do the Swan Series as a bit of a thank you. And then the next year I got to ride a few wildcards. And in between the last TT, 84, I was doing wildcard in GPs, and we did Austria, and I qualified on the front row. This big fat guy turned up on an old Suzuki. I was Sheen's teammate.
Was that the honeycomb Suzuki?
No,
it's
still right, the aluminium one. But I turned up at Salzburg, and Sheen had been moaning about the Suzuki being crap, and it was all pretty old to be fair, and he was getting on a bit as well. And but this big fat kid turns up and puts it on the front row between Lawson and Spencer. It's like, what is that about? And it was one of those moments where it's like, how did that happen? You're walking around the paddock going, Jesus, people are pointing at you, look at that freak. It's like, and then in Salzburg, and I remember it to this day. You do the warm-up lap and there's 250,000 people in a natural amphitheatre, fireworks going off. The atmosphere is unbelievable. And you come down to the grid and kill your engines, it's push start, and all you can hear is your heartbeat in your helmet, and it just goes deadly silent.
Just like starting a race at the Cadwell Club.
When you pull your peg out of the hat, yeah. But and I finished fifth in that Grand Prix, which is like flipping it. This is all from Cadwell, all from Learning Cadwell. Yeah. And then I did Nürburgring the next weekend, and I qualified on the front row again, and then crashed. And then the team drove to the TT, so I flew back to the TT. So I turned up the TT, I was pretty much qualifying on the front row of the 500 Grand Prix, and then jumping straight into ride the TT. And I love the TT anyway, so riding at that level, it's nearly saying like the front row qualifier at a Grand Prix going back to the Grand Prix. It never happened now, but that's how sort of sharp I was. So it did come quite easy, but I decided at the beginning of that year, 84, that I wasn't going to ride anymore at the TT. Whatever happens, I really wanted to go to GP, and I'm really going to make it happen. And I didn't have a contract for the Grand Prix, but I didn't want to do the TT anymore. I've been there, done that, law of averages.
You carried on riding for Suzuki in 85.
Well, I won the TT that year and got on the plane to go back to Paul Ricard, and I said to Suzuki and everywhere that I'm not riding anymore. That's it. So I didn't have anything against it. Just done my time there, and I've survived. So it's time to move on. So yeah,
that's it.
So I got bright. Yeah. So.
And like I said, in 85, was that the honeycomb bike, the special frames?
Yeah, that was the aluminium honeycomb. They turned up with this bike, what they glued together in a little workshop in Edenbridge, and they said, "Here's your new Grand Prix bike." I said, "Are you having a laugh?" It literally was. Well, there was nothing like that anywhere. And Nigel Leeper was a designer. He'd come from Sibagagi, and they designed the frame. It was a shame because it was a time when, in middle 80s, when there was a lot of frame builders about, really good, clever chassis people, but you couldn't really get a motor. Honda weren't doing any engines then, and Suzuki was really tired. So if it had got a decent motor, the Yamaha started leasing engines out later, but it didn't come through. But the bike was amazing. It was amazing. It was a bit of a crash test dummy. We had turned up at Mugello we was developing stuff for AP Lockheed. It turned up with a carbon disc circumference, on the rim. Right around the rim like that. Yeah. So carbon disc weighed nothing. round the outside of your rim, so centrifugal, absolutely nothing at all. It was unbelievable, but it didn't fucking work. There's no break. honestly, at Mugello of all places to go and tie it, flat out down the straight, and the first time you break it, it just goes, whoop. Like, you know when you don't have a break, it feels like you're opening the gas. Nothing, then wah! Like proper, like throwing a hook out the back. But then it was on one side of the wheel, and the fork bracing was nowhere near strong enough. So not only was there no brake, and then like an unbelievable brake, when it did brake, your handlebars pulled out of your hand as well. So I crashed out a couple of times. And then they changed it and they got rid of it. But that was an amazing time. You know, it was a really small team, not really a lot of budget. They kept it going. Suzuki pulled out. By then, the Suzuki GP team had kept the team going with a few little sponsors, and they gave me a brilliant break. They said it was my little team. I was the only rider, and it was an amazing time. You know, I kept sort of breaking through, and mixing it with the factory bikes.
Talking of factories, moving on, Marbury, Amara, how did that come about, Rob?
Well, I think I finished the year as a young kid. It was a bit strange because I was a bit large. It was a bit freaky seeing a big guy, but I had a couple of opportunities. I nearly signed for Kajiva. I don't know. It'd be funny if you looked at swinging doors. If you went one way, I went to Kajiva and I tested the Kajiva at Mazzano. I went to meet the Castellonis. They flew me in a private jet down to Mazzano. I thought this could be alive. And went around the factory and saw all the toys I might be able to get and little freebies and tested the bike. And it was all right, but it offered me a really good earner. And but the Nago came in and offered me quite a bit less, but a chance of a factory bike. You know, and I've been in the mix most of the year, following Eddie Lawson and Raymond Roche. I think it may be somewhere on the spare bike. Thinking, if I only ever had one of those jams, watch me go. And I got one. I was like, fucking hell, they're good riders. It didn't happen. You realise how good they are. They're still, they're still good guys. You know, you get. I was thinking coming here that, whenever you join a team, the first thing you want to do is beat your teammate. So that's why you really want to try and beat your teammate, don't you? So my first teammate was Mick Grant, I did it eventually. My second teammate was Eddie Lawson. My third teammate was Kevin Swans. And then Terry Reimer, and then James Whittam. So I had...
like in that era on the factory bike stuff, who stood out the most? Who was really special? I know there's an awful lot of them.
Well,
so much class.
I pinched myself really because I felt a lot of time that I don't know how I've got here. It's one of those things where I was just like normal bloke from Scunthorpe, working steel erecting, and loved my racing, did well at Club Main. All of a sudden I'm Eddie Lawson's teammate. It's like, what? I don't think I really should be here, but...
You weren't sleeping in the horse box, was you?
No, I'm not there. But, and then at the time, it's really lucky because a lot of people say, like Mark said, afterwards, you realise it was special. While I was there, I realised it was special. It was a really special time to see the Swanson, Rainey and Lawson, Dew Spencer, and to be sort of part player, if you like. I thought I could follow Eddie Lawson and watch what he was doing, what none of you have ever seen, and just to be part of all that was pretty amazing. And it's probably my downfall a little bit that I had a little bit too much respect. But they're my heroes, Eddie Lawson, Jesus.
Yeah.
I lived with him for 3 months, and we rode dirt bikes every day and went mountain biking every day. It's Eddie Lawson. And I still thought he was Eddie Lawson when I was there. I'm just a flipping chap and scunny, and he's like, hang on a minute.
Even if he was thinking, crikey, I've got Rob McElnea. Yeah.
But
he probably thought, look at the size of him, and then throw it out.
Well, I definitely helped him at Salzburg last year because he got pole and he drafted me on the last lap up the back hill, and he got pole and I got third, I think. And he come back, he's going, I got you absolutely perfect. Round the turns, I was pretty much as quick as everybody. But if you got me on the back straight, you was in for a prime lap. I used to look back and there's about 10 of them, and you queued up there. But it was amazing times, and I say, and I realised it was special when I was there. I mean, I think, you see different eras, but many people in this room are my era, or a lot, maybe a bit older, but I'd hope to think that they thought that was a special time. I mean, when Freddie turned up, it changed the game a little bit. Honda stepped in and raised the bar. But I was there watching it all. Freddie Spencer turned up. My God, the guy was unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable what he could do. And you just, him and I was on Eddie's side of the garage, and he didn't like Freddie at all. They grew up together, and none of them Americans really liked each other. They all battled their brains out back at home, and they all went to GPs, and they all pretty much didn't like each other. But they're American. They're not meant to like you I was like best mates with all of them, but I couldn't beat them, so that's why I was the mate, But I think them Americans are bred. If you're competing, you not necessarily need to be mates with him at all. You need to kick his ass. And all of them never really liked each other. But being there, being a bit part of the show and seeing it from the inside, it was really, really amazing. Swanson and Rainey, that was a nightmare. And Lawson and Freddie didn't really get on.
No.
But just being part of it all and seeing it all was amazing.
Brilliant. It was awesome. I mean, towards the end, you ended up on the cabin Honda. Was that your last year?
Well, I just go back a little bit because I guess I was employed. I didn't get my Marlboro contract renewed in '87. I had a bit of a tough '87. I crashed a bit, and then I got picked up by Suzuki, mainly to nursemaid Swans, and it was like, we'll get Rob on, and he knows circuits pretty well, and got a pretty new bike. Swansea's coming. He did the race the year before. He raced that Formula One type thing at Aston in the Grand Prix. Did really well. So Swansea was coming. So they sent me over to meet Kevin at Daytona and meet his family, because his family's coming with him, Jim and Shirley. And met Kevin, went out a few beers, all got a bit lively, and I went to he introduced me to his mum. His mum says to me, we're coming. Look, I can't do a Texas drawl, but
give it a go if you
want. We're coming to Europe next year. Do they have soft toilet tissue? She was going to fill a motorhome up with like soft, because she thought we all got that ISIL. Everybody in Europe's got ISIL toilet tissue. But I got really close with Kevin and spent a lot of time with Kevin and his family, and they turned up, and the first port of call was like, come to my house near Scunthorpe. They turned up with a 40-foot big motorhome. No one had seen anything like this, with a trailer on the back. And in the trailer, he pulled out Suzuki Jeep. His mum's got all his washing machines. He's totally set up with, and then they've got a big roof rack, a roof box on the trailer. It's full of soft toilet tissue. No, it's not hard. But it was. They did really want me to look after him and try and help him with the circuits and sort of develop the bike. The bike was brand new. Honestly, without Swans, that bike, they would never have got a result. That bike was so average. I went to do the tests with them at the Suzuki test track in Rio, and me and Kevin were there testing, pulled the new bikes out. There's loads of Japanese, about 20 Japanese turned up, private test. Swans did about 4 laps, crashed and broke his wrist. Literally, I think the bike flicked him. It's like a chicane near pretty much where all the technicians were. He came sliding into view, bike sparking, cartwheeling. Swans came into view, broke wrist. So Rob, you've got to stay and do the test for another 4 days. So I had to do all the testing by myself. So I did all the testing, and at the end, the Japanese sat there, like you guys there, all sat in the little chairs. Rob-san, what do you think of bike? I said, maybe 10th position. The first race was coming with Suzuki in about, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks. And I said, maybe 10th position. Oh, really? Because I've just come from the factory Yamaha. Obviously, I know what's competitive or not. So I go to Suzuki. Swans wins. I finished 10th. So I know what I'm talking about. But honestly, without Kevin on that bike, I mean, sure, he must have seen all the footage from the 80s, the way he rode it. But the bike was so average, without him on it. it would have been 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah, 88. It was a shame that because the 88 season with Pepsi was a good year, really. Quite saying I enjoyed it. The bike was difficult and didn't really get the results I should have done. But I was sort of getting tired of being fat and not fast enough. You know, I was fast enough everywhere, but I was giving away like 3 stone. I was just getting sick of like having to ride totally on the edge just to hang on to these skinny bastards. It was so, you know, little guys like Tinker and Alan Carter zipping past you. Neil Mackenzie, he used to do my brains in. We used to race together, and he'd weigh like 9 stone and went through, and I'd be weighing in at 13 and a half. And eventually it just got to you because he had to ride on the edge all the time. So I was getting a bit sick of it, really, sort of crashing, and I got sacked. But I went to see Michael Jackson before that. Pepsi tour, flew us to Rome. Me and Swans flew us to Rome. VIP suite. I nearly had eye contact with Michael on the main stage. So it wasn't that bad a year, really.
Right.
Beat that, you three.
So you finished in cabin under.
Yeah, that was a sad story. Well, that was a funny year because I started the year with Paget on the RC30, and I didn't have anything. I didn't really have anything, and I didn't really want to stop. So I got dropped from Suzuki, a real last minute thing. Gary Taylor, the guy there, bit of a snidey bastard. He dropped me like in February or something, so I didn't have a lot to find that time. I was probably not on the main shopping list for GPs, so I didn't want to give in. So I rang around and we spoke to Clive Paget and we got an RC30, and I got his Paget van. Where's Jez? Jez is in here somewhere. We got a Paget van. What a pile of crap! Unbelievable. It was your old van, I reckon. You didn't really look after it. Oh my God! So we had to rebuild the van. The fuel tank was leaking, and Clive thought he was giving us a full factory setup. So anyway, I got an RC30, and we've repaired the van. And
I picked it was extra a helmet's van.
Yeah, well,
it was a lot worse when I first picked it up.
No way, you can't.
That's a diesel thing, it looked like.
Well, it leaked diesel, and we had to put a new diesel tank on, and this is when I was sort of coming to the end of my career, really, I guess. But I still really wanted to race, and we built this RC30 and went to the first World Superbike at Donington. And the bike was not competitive at all. It was really hard work. I mean, you turned up there, it's full World Superbike, and there's Fred Merkel and all the boys with all the Puravano. Yeah. And anyway, I did. Steve Islop fell off in front of me, and I crashed at the S's and broke my wrist. I broke my wrist, Jess. I broke my wrist. I think I did, yeah. Anyway. So, and the next race was 3 weeks later in Hungary. So I ran Clyde and I got a cast on still. And I said, that Honda is just not competitive, it's not worth it. It's not worth doing it. He said, what do you want to do? I said, we need an OW. So he said, right. So he sent me an OW over, and I ran Yamaha UK, I know them really well. I got a load of bits. Got my old mechanic from Suzuki GP, a guy called Dave Johnson. Junior Dave, I can't remember his name now. Dave Collins. A great guy. Took the engine down to me, built the engine. This is all the cast on. Jez was helping me. I was in my garage in Scotterthorpe where I used to live, building this bike. And I still had a cast on, so I was hoping I was going to ride. Built the bike, got it best we could, loaded it in the van, set off to Hungary for the World Superbike, and cut my cast off. Cut my cast off and got on the podium. Got a 3rd position, and it was just, and on the drive home, I'll tell you, while you're here, I'll tell you a funny story. We're driving in this Paget's van, the exhaust is gone on the way home, it's like, Wah! And Jez is in the back sleeping. Jez comes to help me. Jez is in the back trying to sleep. I said, you have some of these ear muffs, those waxy orange, yellow earplugs and nasty things. He said, what do you do with these? I said, well, just take them out of your packet, pop them in your mouth, chew them for like 5 minutes, get them nice and pop them in your ears. Oh, all right. So he opened them. He's chewing them. Honestly, he was chewing them for about 20 minutes. Are you sure? Anyway, he fell for that. But on the way home, so I managed to, I got on the podium there, which is pretty amazing. It was an amazing trip. It was a brilliant trip, really. Just everybody's mucked in and made it happen. And I was paying for it all. I just wanted to go racing. And on the way back, I got a phone call from Honda America asking me to replace Bubba Schobert, who got hurt at Laguna Seca. So I got another year at GPs on probably the nastiest bike in the paddock.
Really?
Well, it was that horrible NSR, which the 88 one, which 88. I got a year after in 89. And the one the Widowmaker, they all got off it and flipping praise the Lord we survived and give it to Rob for a year. So it was inevitable. It wasn't going to be a brilliant year, but really, again, I enjoyed it and I enjoyed my time there.
And then you ended up taking captain's ride.
Yeah. Knew we'd get after that. And his band, no, I'll give his band back then.
Yeah. But you come back to England and raced obviously pretty hard and did pretty well and all on the lot type bikes.
Yeah, that was pretty good. The OW was a nice bike. I mean, it's crazy really to explain, but riding a 500 GP bike, you do not get anything as sharp, as precise, as stiff. You know, when you're flicking it in there, you know exactly pretty much what's happening. Things happen, but you know you can set your bike up to be pretty much how you want it. You get on an OW, my God, it is like going to the chippy on a big bag of spuds. It's flipping. Honestly, it's just felt like OW probably was the best bike you've ever ridden. Yeah. But compared to a GP bike, you can imagine, can't you? So I got on this thing and said, oh my God, this is fantastic. You can go into a corner and it tells you, it's like a second class letter. I mean, you're going to lose the front at Crane Curve, just be ready with it. For a 500 back, he's like, whoa, take that. You know, you can go riding and go, whoa, yeah, you're right, I got that mail. So you could ride it so hard. And again, I come from GP, so I was at a pretty high level. And it's great fun winning races again. You know, I ain't been in the front. It's nothing like winning. I mean, I love GPs, but you know, you're battling for maybe not winning races, but coming back to win and be at the front of races was really good.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Good fun.
And you ended up on the Fast Orange bike. Was that your
Fast Orange? Was the end. It was the end.
Fast.
Yeah. Well, that was the Whittam year when Whittam turned up and. We'd raced together the year before. He was on the Suzuki, pretty old Suzuki, pretty special. And then he joined me. I was team player manager for that year. And what a fantastic year. You know, the bike, I was desperate for this YZF to turn up because I was sick of this OW01. Because again, remember, I've come from like the pinnacle of a MotoGP to a OW01, which is pretty much a road bike, although it was tricky. So the new one coming out, this YZF's going to come out. I'm like, oh, thank God, get rid of that OW1 and get me a YZF. The YZF turned up. What a shopping bike that was. But it was the best bike Whittam had ever sat on.
Was it? Yeah.
So honestly, he just clicked with that bike. And he just rode fantastic that year. And I was second fiddle to him pretty much. I got across him a couple of times, but we pretty much dominated, me and him. Finn Norton's was in there, I think. But it was a great year, and we did a few wildcard rides together, me and James. I was sort of helping him then, trying to get him going and I was really trying to get him a ride somewhere if we could. So we'll go and showcase him and our team in a few wildcard races. So we went to Anderstorp first, and he was just a bit in awe of it all. I turned up there, his factory Ducati were foggy and factory Honda this and that. He was just a bit, whoa. So I said, just forget about that. Just you ride like you know you can ride. Our bike's not a factory bike, but you ride it and you'll get a result. And he ended up finished 7th or 8th there, which is pretty good. And I rode as well. I think we finished pretty similar. But the next round we was going to go to was Assen. And I said, well, I won't ride. I'm not bothered about riding. I've done my bit. Let's concentrate on you and let's do it. So get yourself super fit. Have a proper good strategy. Get yourself fired up and we'll go there again. Right, okay then. So the plan was I'm going to pick him up and drive his motorhome over with him and Andrea, and the team's going to go on and we're really going to get into his head, driving there, I'm going to really get him fired up. So I go and pick him up. He'd been grinding, and he's got a massive big lump of steel in his eye. So he's got a patch on one eye like that. I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, this is the weekend before his biggest race of his career. What the hell happened? Oh, I was just doing a bit of grinding and I didn't get my goggles on. So his eyes like, got a patch on. So, oh Christ. So we set off driving, get to Dover to get the ferry, and we went and changed some money or whatever we did. And I saw him and Andrea walking in front of me, chatting to each other, looking a bit suspicious. I'm going, what's going on here? And they come back, Rob, we forgot our passports. Are you having a laugh? So they had no passports, so I had to hide him in the toilet of the thing. Smuggled him into Holland, pretty much. Got there, he couldn't ride until he got past. He had to go to the hospital in wherever the town was there to get his eyes sorted out, and then he missed the first practice, so wouldn't let him fit, and the second practice let him go, and he got going, and he had a fantastic ride, battling for the podium with Puravano, and his bike was the fast orange bike, but with respect, someone's got that bike and they love it, but it was a real turd. Compared to the factory bikes there, they just kept. I said, just get up inside on the chicane, and everybody can see them pass you down the straight. And he did it every lap. So and he finished fourth or fifth line. It was great result. And then he got a factory ride the year after. So it was good. It was great. So I enjoyed that '93, and then he took me out and broke my leg, and I retired.
That was that.
That was Whittam. Yeah, that's my mate Whittam. He still doesn't admit it.
Doesn't he?
No, but
I was watching from Devil's Elbow.
Who was that?
Just stood on top of the bank, and it was it was Mallory.
Yeah.
Mallory was packed. It was
Why?
like Whittam was miles behind, and it was like everybody, the whole crowd went.
Yeah, I did more than that. But he still won't admit it. I mean, we won the championship. I had to finish the race, literally, in the top 3 or 4 to finish second, so we were first and second in the championship. So our team boss, James, if he got to, just sit behind me and just look after me. You've won the championship, chill out. Let me finish. Right, okay, boss. So we set off. I was leading, and Moody come past me on the Norton got in front of me, and Whittam, well, not that I could see him, but I imagine he's behind me like this. Come on, fat boy, get out of the way. You know, and like all I had to do was finish this. All I had to do. Didn't have it. Second to the last lap, he went up the inside of me at the S's and lost the front and flicked me in the barrier. So
you see, his story was you was going that slow.
Yeah, I know.
And
I was winding down. I was going to retire anyway, so I was winding down. But he made it short. So he ruined my golf game, ruined my potential tennis future.
Sure.
I'm going to claim.
Rob,
claim him.
I think a lot of people know that you moved into management. Obviously, you was managing then. So
Rob Mac gets Cadbury's Boast as a sponsor. How good is that?
I know.
Fat boy comes good.
Chocolate bars everywhere. Yeah, just tell, I mean, obviously you had quite a few riders there. I mean, there's some pretty special names. Somebody called Steve Plater was one of your riders, I think. SP.
And some big disappointments as well.
That was one of them.
Tom Hill, Harris.
It's just, yeah, well, I mean, I think I had a fantastic time with the managing team. The last couple of years was tough because the money was hard and so on, but up until then, the Boast years with Neil was unbelievable. The bikes were fantastic, but you know, there's still some good Ducatis and stuff like that. But Neil came back from GP sharp, and he really kept the sharpness where I had it, and then eventually I lost it a little bit. He was still so sharp, and he was another level. So we put James with him 1 year, Walker with him 1 year, Hislop with him 1 year, and he sort of won all 3. So that was a magic time. And then at the end of the last year of that, we lost all the sponsorship. Literally, we won the championship 3 times, and we lost all the sponsorship. But the Yamaha had employed a company to handle all the sponsorship, so all of them, Boast, Lee Cooper, we had some really good brands. They had a big fallout with the broker and pulled the plug. Totally, that British champion 3 times, so we had nothing. So Yamaha sort of said, well, we've got no budget, we can't do anything really. So it's literally up to, if we wanted to go racing, I had to try and make it happen. And Neil was Neil was out of a job really. He was late. He had to pick a job up, and he was current British champion. So it was a really crazy phone call to Virgin, and it was Virgin limo bikes. They do a limo bike service from the airport, like a taxi, and he's a real big bike fan, the guy who run that. He said, I'll get you a contact, you can have a chat. So I spoke to this guy and told him where we are with Neil Mackenzie and all that. And he says, yeah, that sounds all right. He says, yeah, well, we'll do it. I told him what sort of money we need just to get through the year. He said, yeah, I think that'll happen. And I put the phone, I thought, is he a bullshitter or is he real? So I rung my boss at Yamaha, a guy called Andy Smith, and I said, you need to ring this guy at Virgin. And he says that he's up for it and we can make it happen. And so he rang him. And he chatted to him and he put the phone out, rang me back, says, he's either a good bullshitter or we're on. So that was the start of the Virgin thing, really. So that was brilliant. And then, so some great years with the Virgin years with some brilliant guys. Steve, I have to say, was one of the best guys that we ever had on old tyres. He was like unbelievable. He could make the old tyres work and his lap times and consistency. I don't know if he's riding shitty road bike tyres for so long, but it was pretty special. It's a shame we didn't have the best bike for Steve in those years, but the Yam was pretty hard work, wasn't it? Really. But yeah, had some great guys come through, and then
the R6 Cup.
The R6 Cup was something I put to Virgin, and then and really it started because I was talking to Stuart Higgs, who's the race director, and was looking at the 600 series, the 600 youth series, and it's just full of cheating. It was meant to be the starter series, and there was young guys there with wealthy parents or whatever, and they turned up in big motorhomes, been in Spain all winter testing with 3 spare bikes, and so the guys who turned up who were meant to be doing it out the back of the van and young kids having a go were never going to get through, because if they haven't got the dollar, they're not going to make it, and that wasn't what it was meant to be. It was meant to be the starter series. So I presented the sort of series then that we would police everything. We would bring the bikes to the track, we would take the bikes away, make sure everything's totally even, and whoever wins on total merit. It's totally fair series, and so they went for it, and I got Virgin in for it. And a lot of the it's funny because a lot of the guys who were doing well in the 600 before didn't want to go in the cup because they knew they were cheating, and once it was a level playing field, they wouldn't have got a result. So then we launched that, and it was brilliant. It was a brand. It was like it was pretty much the forerunner of the RD series, really. With pull the key out of the hat, you get a bike for the year. We take it home. We make sure it's all policed. And but then with a prize at the end, because my idea was that there's so much talent out there, but they're never going to get through unless they've got a lot of money, and it's not how I came through. It's not how these guys came through. He came through on merit. If you did well, you get a contract and you work up ladder. It doesn't work like that anymore. And even at that level, if you at the starter level, if you didn't have money, you couldn't even get a result in the 600 series. So I thought if I could get the budget together and sell it to the sponsors, that we get a stepping stone in place where these guys win and they get a chance to go on to Superbike. I really wanted to get them straight on Superbike, which might be a bit of a big step, but I wanted to propel them and give them a real good chance. So, the budget you need to run a Superbike rider is not small. So I had to get Virgin to go for that and risk taking a young kid onto Superbike. In itself is going to be expensive because the guy's going to crash a few times, but it worked fantastic. I think a lot of them guys would have got through probably, but nowhere near as fast as what we fast forwarded all that by giving them. We paid, it was something like 200 grand for the TV deal behind it. So we had to find a budget because we wanted it to be on TV to really make it work for them as well. Because not only did we want them to get good results, we wanted them to try and get sponsors and try and get some coverage. So we paid for the TV package. So we had a film crew following them all the time. That went out it was on Dave first, and it was on Channel 5. And the Channel 5 viewing on a Sunday night at midnight was like double BSB. That's because it was in mainstream. So it was hitting the right things. The right numbers. And then someone like, the first year was probably the best. Tommy Hill won it, Crutchlow was second, Kieran Clark third. So, I think it really gave a lot of guys a leg up, and I was really quite proud to be part of all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic, Rob. I think everybody's got to say this is certainly a Lincolnshire legend here. One of you
we haven't done Charles in yet.
Well, there's a few experts in here tonight, Rob. They do know your form, you know. Yeah, yeah. Just give Rob a big round of applause. That was absolutely. I think after that, folks, we maybe just have a quick few questions opened up, Steve, just in case anybody wants to ask anything else, and then we'll get on to the auction.
Stick your hand up if you've got a question. Anybody?
Any amusing stories about Kenny Irons? Or
Kenny Irons. Captain's revving one up, I can see.
Ken was a great rider. He's, one of the people when we was on like Rob said, the 350 series, one of the front runners. That's why we got to know him. A great character, and just a really good rider. We're sorry that he lost his life here and everything, but he was a great rider, and just started off like us lads did, coming to watch any push bike at Cadwell Park. He'd be riding down to Brands Hatch, watching, and he just wanted to ride a motorbike, and not silver spoon or anything like that. Just made it work for himself, and was a very good rider.
We've got a couple online. People asking from home if we can get a microphone over here.
Too easy. It's not the wife, is it?
Okay, so firstly, Tony Ray wants to know, is Steve Plater still 39 years old? I won't tell you his response. Dave Clark wants to know, this is a good question, have any of you been watching the progress of up-and-coming lads in the motorcycle racing world, and which ones have you got your eyes on?
Neve twins. Yeah, really good lads, Lincolnshire lads, and they've been doing super stock last year, really good. Got a lot of future. They're, about one's gone Tim's doing super sport next year on 600, and Tom's on a super stock 1000. So watch out for them.
Captain?
I think because I've got so much respect for the father, I think the Mackenzie boys, I think they'll be a big ride to the future, really, because I think with the knowledge of their dad and things, it's going to really help them a lot, and I expect big things from them. Yeah.
And you, Rob?
Well, a bit of an armchair follower now, and I really enjoy watching it, but I'm a bit off the scene a little bit. But spent a bit of time with Jake Dixon. He's into trials riding now, but I think he's a really natural guy. I think he's a real deal. I think he's really going to step up. But it's going to be interesting this year. It's great that some of the teams are taking a punt with some young guys. Taron McKenzie with Josh Brooks, and I see Taylor's got a ride, and Bradley Ray, Dixon. It's about time some of the teams gave them a break. So it could be really interesting.
And quite a lot of people want to know, on equal bikes, equal tyres, on the same weather, out there on this track here at Cadwell Park, which one of you three would be quicker?
Let's go.
4.
5.
You got to pick a bike.
Pro-Am at the VSP, do you think?
Hey?
Pro-Am this year at the VSP.
Yeah.
So Stuart Higgs, if you're watching, we want them all out on the same bike at VSP this year.
Forget that.
There are a lot more, but we've been here all night. We've reached over 5,000 views, and we've reached over 100,000 people on the stream tonight. So you can imagine the amount of questions there are.
Anybody editing the swearing?
No, we'll be very quick with the bleeping.
Okay. Anybody else out there? Just quickly, Steve.
Any more questions? Stick your hand up. Jeff Baldock.
Jeff Baldock. Just could be something to do with you, Ting.
He's going to get his own back now.
Oh no, don't give him the mic.
Now this is going back to Rob's Grand Prix years. Santa brought me Freddie Spencer's book for Christmas, and I've read that. And he's a bit of an odd character, as you probably know. Have you got any funny stories about Freddie Spencer? You must have.
Well, it was really a private guy, to be fair, but it's strange. I mean, we all travel around together. We all be in airports, and we'd all be kicking back, like, just young guys, pair of trainers, t-shirt, jeans. Freddie would turn up in his Farrahs with his. He looked like a librarian or an accountant or something, And then around the paddock, he'd say, "Rob, come and throw a ball with me." I said, "I can't throw one of those American balls. How do you throw them things?" He's throwing it to me, and I'm like trying to catch it and then throw it back. So they were desperate to sort of have buddies. But the funny story is, and we'll maybe try and make it happen one day. Me and Mackenzie used to do mucky motorhome videos. So we used to sneak around the paddock and sneak into people's motorhomes and do a video and open all the cupboards and have a look around all the. And we went into Freddie's. And Mackenzie's sniffing Freddie's underpants, thinking he can gain a few seconds somewhere. So Freddie didn't catch us, and I don't think he's ever seen the film. So, but we've got a few other films, so we might do that one night.
Any more this end? Questions?
Probably one of the weirdest characters, I have to say, I've ever met through my career is John Krasinski. Unbelievably fast guy, but pretty weird. I met him. We've got time for those stories, haven't we?
Yeah, crack on.
I met him.
Nobody's going home just yet.
I don't want to name drop, but I'm going to do. I got invited to Kenny Roberts' birthday party at his lodge in Tahoe, like you do from Scunthorpe, And the ritual is on his birthday. His birthday is January the 1st. The ritual is that they explode this cannon, what he has on a veranda, looking over these $1 million houses over Lake Tahoe. So I'm there, there's Rainey, there's Lawson, Bubba Shawbert, Kaczynski, and for about 3 hours they've been ramming this cannon, seeing how much more gunpowder can get into it. So they're ramming like this. So, and in between this, we're messing around. Kaczynski's like flipping off his head, and get to midnight, so the cannon's going to explode. Come on, guys, get outside. So there's about 20 of us on this veranda, and he pulls the big glass doors back. We all go on the veranda, point this cannon over the valley, like the touch paper. Everybody's like, whoa, stands back. This cannon recoils like you've never seen, back through the plate glass window, back into the main living room, and all these Americans going out and screaming. Whatever fires out fires miles over the valley, but this cannon, they've been poking it and telling me the story. Oh, wait till this goes. They've been poking it. I said, surely you're putting too much stuff in there. Sure enough, it's like shot back. It weighed a couple of hundredweight. But yeah, Kaczynski was a weirdo. We used to watch him out of our motorhomes and watch him. He'd come in from a practice session and he'd have a little mat outside his motorhome and he'd stand on it and he wouldn't move off the mat. He'd take his helmet off and blow it, just like his helmet like that for like half an hour, pulling all the little pics of it, then place that there, and take his leathers off. This is on the mat outside his motorhome, shake his leathers for half an hour, like that, shake his boots, and we're all peering out the motorhome watching him like this. And then he'd go kick our ass. It's pretty special guy. So I started doing that next time. No.
Right, we've got another question here.
Can the guys remember the bridge that went over the Esses with the stone brick-built parapets and the wall so close to the circuit where the farmer's house used to be, and the 5-barred gate that they used to open at the barn to let people through if they made a mistake? Yeah. And even the older circuit where he went over the top instead of turning left at Charlie's. Are you not that old?
I got all of that apart from the Charlie's bit, which I'm sad to say that I remember the parapet. I mean, that ain't that long ago, to be fair. I fought when I first came back from GPs. I went to the circuits, and there's the same issues we were having when I left like 8 years before. Bomb hole was like lethal. Through this parapet through there was like, why haven't we got any runoff? What's going on? So I formed a union called FORM, Riders Institution, and it was just really all the riders said, come on guys. I mean, I came back the first year. I think Ray Stringer went into the bomb hole and broke his leg. I was like, what is going on? Why ain't nobody done anything about this? It's crazy. So we formed this union to try and force through safety issues and things like that. And looking back now, it's really crackers. But I spent most Thursdays at a track putting the bails out. We had a bail plan for every circuit, including here. And you remember that, won't you? Yeah, and we had a bail plan for every circuit, and we'd order enough bails for everywhere, and we'd literally go around with the guys and put the bails out where I thought you might hit one. And we went to Snetterton to test. I forgot who was riding for me now. We went to test at Snetterton, and Nicola Fulton had fallen out with the farmer, and the turn 1 at Snetterton, that field where we've all been in, Steve. We've all been in that field at 100 miles an hour.
It was the bike.
Yeah. She'd put an AMCO barrier within 15 metres of the track. So we were testing, and I went out to do a lap with the guy. I said, dude, what's the crap with the barrier? He said, you cannot, no way can you ride a bike around here with that barrier there. I went to see Martin Donnelly, the car driver who was based at Sexton. I said, what's the crap with the barrier there? Oh, Nicola's fallen out with the farmer and she won't pay 50 pence a week to have the field free, and she put a barrier up. I said, well, he said, have you had any problems? He said, oh, we've ridden 3 cars off so far. I said, well, why aren't you saying anything? So I got a petition together with a load of riders and sent it to Nicola Fulton and said, you know, there's no way we're going to race there with that barrier there. And my boss from Yamaha said, oh, Rob, you know, please don't fall out with everybody. I said, well, there's no way we can go right there. We've been death trap. And as I'm talking to my boss at Yamaha, there's a fax coming through from Nicola Fulton's lawyers suing me for having this boycott and so on. Anyway, it all got passed and they moved the barrier. And the first guy in the field, and our first practice day was a guy called Phil Borley. He went straight in there, 100 miles an hour, and he came to see me. And he says, "Thanks, mate." But that's So I remember that parapet there, and thank God, it didn't change till Jonathan Palmer got the track. To be fair, but the tracks are so much safer now. Now we have airbags everywhere now. But the Forerunner was like literally putting bails out with the Cadwell guys and the circuit, putting all the bails out. So that was a Forerunner for that, I think. So a union man.
Any more questions? Right, I've got one. Well, for all of you really, but Rob, obviously, you know, massive coming through your career, you know, full on factory GPs and everything, you know, having a great time, come back to the UK and being very successful running your team, and then all of a sudden, boom, gone, never to be seen again. How can you switch off that quickly from being so involved and, you know, obviously as a lifestyle as well, to completely nothing? And I've probably seen you 3 times since you stopped.
Good question, really. I just the last couple of years there was tough. I had a lot of the years where getting good sponsorship was gone. You know, the economic climate was bad, and it wasn't even good to be sponsoring. You know, it wasn't a good sign to be sponsoring people. It was a time when austerity was coming in and so on. So I had to patch the teams together with Motorpoint was my last sponsor. It wasn't enough to really run the team, so I'd have to maybe have half another other sponsors to make it work, which is fine until after, you know, till some of the ones at the bottom drop out. So then the team's running, but it has to be funded somehow. So I was having to sort of back it up, and it was just tough, really. It was tough. I don't really like the riders having to pay for the rides. You know, you might have a number 1 rider who you pay in and you're trying to find sponsors for, but the second rider would always have to come with a good budget to try and make it work, and it wasn't very good. So at the end, it took me. I probably stopped 2 years too late. I should have stopped maybe a bit earlier, but I had guys working with me forever, and for sure that was a big thing, having to put these guys out of work. So I went on probably 2 years too long. But then when I decided that I was going to stop, they're all really good guys. They all got jobs straight away. You know, Ian Preston went to Honda, and now Yamaha, Leighton. All the guys they got good jobs. So that was real peace of mind that they got set up. And really, I've got no interest in going. I mean, I love the sport and what it did for me, but I've got a young family, and you know, my weekends are full on now. So I love watching it from the armchair. and it's a fantastic series. But you know, you won't see me at any meetings, Steve. Sorry, mate.
And the same with you two guys. What floats your boat now? Well, since stopping, where do you get that adrenaline rush from? Because that's what it's all about, really. That's what revs you up. And what replaced it?
You go to the pub a bit, don't you?
No, I'm keeping fit now. I think, like I say, I love my racing career and everything like that. And when I first packed up, after I packed up with Superbike and whatever, and then luckily for me, I came back and did the Triumph Series, which was a big part because my dad was running the team and we did a lot with General Guarantee and part of the series and things, which was really, really great, and we really enjoyed it and we had a great time with Triumph. It wasn't at a level what I was at before, but it was still a really good series, good riders in it, and then really, I just think, you can go on, like Rob says, you can go on and go on, but it was time to finish. I was only getting worse, not better. So, I think that's time. Not that because I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't enjoy it so much when you're not sort of at the front all the time, but I think there is a time to finish.
Is it? I still think I'm going to make it.
You're going to finish.
Yeah, I think anybody who races, you get such a buzz out of it. It can't go on forever, can it? It's so intense while you're doing it, and you have a fantastic time. But when you've had enough, you've got to get out, and you just can't keep going on forever. Same, well, you can, but it's like. I got invited back to a Pro-Am. I've done a couple now, and it brings back memories, and it's fantastic being out there and seeing everybody. But you're actually riding around, and you're not what you used to be, and you're not as fit and as strong, if you like. And I don't know, you're sort of pushing yourself too much, if you think. But I wouldn't want to go back racing full time again. No, couldn't do it, I don't think.
I don't know what to say to that thing.
I know you enjoy it and you have a great time, don't you?
Yeah. Well, hey, it's just right, but you can go pretty good still. I think there's still a chance. No, it's great. I think at this point, folks, it's a bit of a sad note to end it on, really. Stevie boy, isn't it?
No, nothing sad. It's just getting a general idea of everybody's life, not just through racing, but afterwards as well.
Yeah.
Just see what. Yeah.
I hope everybody's enjoyed that because it's been mega interesting to me, and I didn't know quite a lot, especially Rob's. You've kept the job going, so can have a big round of applause for all three, please.
That's all we've got time for tonight. Thank you to Pete Boast and Steve Plater for hosting the evening, and to our star guests for bringing the 1980s back to life. And of course, thank you to our visitors who enjoyed this evening's entertainment. We hope you've enjoyed the live stream. We've got a year packed with entertainment, whether bikes, sidecars, vintage motor racing or rallying is your thing. There's something to suit everyone at Cadwell Park. We hope to see you here in the Lincolnshire Wolds in 2018. From the whole team here at MSV's Cadwell Park, it's good night from the clubhouse.